Bernard Shaw, Saint Joan.
A fine spring morning on the River Meuse, between Lorraine and Champagne, in the year 1429 AD, in the castle of Valencourt.
No eggs? No eggs? Thousand thunders, man! What do you mean by no eggs?
Sir, it is not my fault. It is the act of God.
Blasphemy! You tell me there are no eggs and you blame your maker for it?
Sir, what can I do? I cannot lay eggs.
You jest about it.
Oh, no, sir. God knows. We have to go without eggs, just as you have, sir. The hens will not lay.
Indeed? Now listen to me, you.
Yes, sir.
What am I?
What are you, sir?
Yes. What am I? Am I Robert, squire of Baudricourt and captain of this castle of Vaucouleurs, or am I a cowboy?
Oh, sir, you are a greater man here than the king himself.
Precisely. And now, do you know what you are?
I am nobody, sir, except that I have the honor to be your steward.
Oh, you have not only the honor of being my steward, but the privilege of being the worst, most incompetent, driveling, sniveling, gibbering, jabbering idiot of a steward of France.
Yes, sir. To a great man like you, I must seem like that.
Oh, my fault, I suppose, eh?
Oh, sir, you always give my most innocent words such a turn.
I will give your neck a turn if you dare tell me when I ask you how many eggs there are that you cannot lay any.
But sir,
No, oh, sir, but no, sir. My 3 Barbary hens in the black are the best layers in Champagne, and you come and tell me that there are no eggs? Well, who stole them? Tell me that before I kick you through this castle gate for a liar and a seller of goods to thieves. The milk was short yesterday, too. Do not forget that.
Oh, I know, sir, I know only too well. There is no milk, there are no eggs. Tomorrow there'll be nothing.
Nothing? You will steal the lot, eh?
No, sir, nobody will steal anything. There's a spell on us, we are bewitched.
Oh, that story is not good enough for me. Robert de Baudricourt burns witches and hangs thieves. Go, bring me 4 dozen eggs and 2 gallons of milk here in this room before noon, or heaven have mercy on your bones. I will teach you to make a fool out of me.
Sir, I tell you, there are no eggs. There will be none, not if you were to kill me for it. As long as the maid is at the door.
The maid? What maid? What are you talking about?
The girl from Lorraine, from Trémouille.
30,000 thunders, 50,000 devils. Do you mean to tell me that that girl who had the impudence to ask me to see me 2 days ago, and whom I told you to send back to her father with my orders that he was to give her a good hiding, is still here?
I have told her to go, sir. She won't.
I did not tell you to tell her to go. I told you to throw her out. You have 50-minute arms and a dozen lumps of able-bodied servants to carry out my orders. Are they afraid of her?
She is so positive, sir.
Positive? Now see here, I am going to throw you downstairs.
Oh, no, sir, please.
Well, stop me by being positive. It's quite easy. Any slut of a girl can do it.
Sir, so you cannot get rid of her by throwing me out. You see, you are much more positive than I am. But so is she.
I am stronger than you are, you fool.
No, sir, it isn't that. It's your strong character, sir. She is weaker than we are. She is only a slip of a girl, but we cannot make her go.
Parcel of curs, you are afraid of her.
No, sir, we are afraid of you, but she puts courage into us. She really doesn't seem to be afraid of anything. Perhaps you could frighten her, sir.
Yeah, perhaps. Where is she now?
Down in the courtyard, sir, talking to the soldiers, as usual. She is always talking to the soldiers, except when she is praying.
Oh, praying? Ha! You believe she prays? You idiot. I know the sort of girl that is always talking to soldiers. Well, she'll talk to me a bit. Hello, you there.
Is it me, sir?
Yes, you.
Be you captain?
Yes, damn your impudence. I be captain. Come up here. Show her the way, you, and shove her along quick.
She wants to go and be a soldier herself. She wants her soldier's clothes, armor, sir, and a sword, actually.
Good morning, Captain Squire. Captain, you are to give me a horse and armor and some soldiers and send me to the Dauphin. Those are your orders from my lord.
Orders from your lord? And who the devil may your lord be? Go back to him and tell him that I am neither duke nor peer at his orders. I am squire of Baudricourt, and I take no orders except from the king.
Yes, Squire, that is all right. My lord is the king of heaven.
Why, the girl's mad. Why didn't you tell me so, you blockhead?
Sir, do not anger her. Give her what she wants.
They all say I am mad until I talk to them, Squire. But you see, that is the will of God, that you are to do what he has put into my mind.
Well, it is the will of God that I shall send you back to your father with orders to put you under lock and key and thrash the madness out of you. What have you to say to that?
You think you will, Squire, but you will find it all coming quite different. You said you would not see me, but here I am.
Yes, sir. You see, sir?
Hold your tongue, you.
Yes, sir.
So, you are presuming on my seeing you, are you?
Yes, Squire.
Now, listen to me. I am going to assert myself.
Please do, Squire. The horse will cost 16 francs. It is a good deal of money, but I can save it on the armor. I can find a soldier's armor that will fit me well enough. I am very hardy. I do not need beautiful armor made to my measure like you wear. I shall not want many soldiers. The Dauphin will give me all I need to raise the siege of Orleans.
Raise the siege of Orleans?
Yes, Squire, that is what God is sending me to do. 3 men will be enough for you to send with me if they are good men and gentle to me. They have promised to come with me. Polly and Jack and...
Polly? You impudent baggage. Do you dare call Squire Bertrand de Poulengey Polly to my face?
His friends call him so, Squire. I did not know he had any other name. Jack is...
That is Monsieur Joan of Metz, I suppose.
Yes, Squire. Jack will come willingly. He is a very kind gentleman and gives me money to give to the poor. I think John Godsave will come. Oh, and Dick the Archer, and their servants, John of Honcourt and Julien. There will be no trouble for you, Squire. I have arranged it all. You have only to give the order.
Well, I am damned.
No, Squire. God is very merciful, and the blessed saints Catherine and Margaret, who speak to me every day, will intercede for you. You will go to paradise, and your name will be remembered forever as my first helper.
Is this true about Monsieur de Poulengey?
Yes, sir. And about Monsieur de Mertz, too. They both want to go with her.
Hello, you there. Send Monsieur de Poulengey to me, will you? Now get out and wait in the yard.
Right, Squire.
Go with her, you dithering imbecile. Stay within call and keep your eye on her. I shall have her up here again.
Do so in God's name, sir. Think of those hens, the best layers in Champagne, and...
Think of my boot and take your backside out of reach of it. Ah. It isn't service, Polly, a friendly talk. Sit down. Now, listen to me, Polly. I must talk to you like a father. It is about this girl you are interested in. Now, I have seen her. I have talked to her. First, she is mad, but that doesn't matter. Second, she's not a farm wench. She's a bourgeoisie. That matters a good deal. I know her class exactly. Her father came here last year to represent his village in a lawsuit. He is one of their notables. A farmer, not a gentleman farmer, but he makes money by it and lives by it. Still, not a laborer, not a mechanic. He might have a cousin, a lawyer, in the church. People of this sort may be of no account socially, but they can give a lot of bother to the authorities, that is to say, to me. Now, no doubt, it seems to you a very simple thing to take this girl away, humbugging her into the belief that you are taking her to the Dauphin, but if you get her into trouble, you may get me into no end of mess, as I am her father's lord and responsible for her protection. So, friends or no friends, Polly, hands off of her.
I should as soon think of the Blessed Virgin herself in that way as of this girl.
But she says you and Jack and Dick have offered to go with her. What for? You're not going to tell me that you take her crazy notion of going to the Dauphin seriously?
There is something about her. They are pretty foul-mouthed and foul-minded down there in the guard room, some of them. They have stopped swearing before her. There is something. It may be worth trying.
Come, Polly, pull yourself together. Common sense was never your strong point, but this is a little too much.
What is the good of common sense? If we had any common sense, we should join the Duke of Burgundy and the English king. They hold half the country right down to the Loire. They have Paris. They have this castle. You know very well that we had to surrender it to the Duke of Bedford like a... and you are only holding it on parole. The Dauphin is in Chinon like a rat in a corner, except he won't fight. We don't even know that he is the Dauphin. His mother says he isn't, and she ought to know. Think of that. The Queen denying the legitimacy of her own son.
Well, she married her daughter to the English king. Can you blame the woman?
I blame nothing, but thanks to her, the Dauphin is down and out, and we may as well face it. The English will take Orléans. The bastard will not be able to stop them.
Well, he beat the English the year before last at Montargis. I was with him.
Well, no matter. His men are cowed now, and he can't work miracles. And I tell you that nothing can save our side but a miracle.
Miracles are all right, Polly. The only difficulty about them is that they don't happen nowadays.
I used to think so. I'm not sure now. Oh, at all events, this is not the time to leave any stone unturned. There is something about the girl.
Oh, you think the girl can work miracles, do you?
I think the girl herself is a bit of a miracle. Anyhow, she is the last card left in our hand. Better play her than throw up the game.
You really think that?
Is there anything else left for us to think?
Look here, Polly. If you were in my place, would you let a girl like that do you out of 16 francs for a horse?
I will pay for the horse.
You will?
Yes, I will back my opinion.
You will really gamble on a forlorn hope to the tune of 16 francs?
It is not a gamble.
Oh, what else is it?
It is a certainty. Her words and her ardent faith in God have put fire into me.
Whew. You are as mad as she is.
We want a few mad people now. See where the sane ones have landed us.
I shall feel like a precious fool. Still, if you feel sure.
I feel sure to take her to Chinon, unless you stop me.
Oh, this is not fair. You're putting the responsibility on me.
Well, it's on you, whichever way you choose. Whichever
Yes.
way you decide.
Well, that's just it. Which way am I to decide? You don't see how awkward this is for me. Do you think I ought to have another talk with her?
Yes. Joan,
Will he let us go, Polly?
come up. Come in. Shall I leave you with her?
No, stay here and back me up.
Jack will go halves for the horse.
Well,
Sit down, Joan.
May I?
do what you're told. Now, what is your name?
They always call me Jenny in Lorraine, but here in France I am Joan. The soldiers call me the maid.
Now, what is your surname?
Surname? What is that? My father sometimes calls himself D'Arc, but I know nothing about it. Oh, you met my father!
Yes, I remember. You came from Domremy in Lorraine, I think.
Yes, but what does it matter? We all speak French.
Don't ask questions, answer them. How old are you?
17, so they tell me. It might be 19. I don't remember.
What did you mean when you said that St. Catherine and St. Margaret talk to you every day?
They do.
What are they like?
I will tell you nothing about that. They have not given me leave.
But you actually see them and they talk to you just as
No.
I'm talking to you.
No, it is quite different. I cannot tell you. You must not talk to me about my voices.
How do you mean voices?
I hear voices telling me what to do. They come from God.
They come from your imagination.
Of course. That is how the messages of God come to us.
Checkmate.
No fear. So, God says you are to raise the siege of Orleans.
And to crown the Dauphin in Rome Cathedral.
Crown the... Oh, gosh.
And to make the English leave France.
Yeah, anything else?
Not just at present, thank you, Squire.
Suppose you think that raising a siege is as easy as chasing a cow out of a meadow. You think soldiering is anybody's job?
I do not think it can be very difficult if God is on your side, and you are willing to put your life into his hand. But many soldiers are very simple.
Simple? Did you ever see English soldiers fighting?
They are only men. God made them just like us. But he gave them their own country and their own language, and it is not his will that they should come into our country and try to speak our language.
Who has been putting such nonsense into your head? Don't you know that soldiers are subject to their feudal lord, and that it is nothing to them or to you whether he is the Duke of Burgundy or the King of England or the King of France? What has their language got to do with it?
I do not understand that a bit. We are all subject to the King in heaven, and he gave us our countries and our languages and meant us to keep to them. If it were not so, it would be murder to kill an Englishman in battle. And you, Squire, would be in great danger of hellfire. You must not think about your duty to your feudal lord, but about your duty to God.
It's no use, Robert. She can choke you like that every time.
Oh, can she? By St. Denis, we shall see. We are not talking about God. We are talking about practical affairs. I ask you again, girl, have you ever seen English soldiers fighting? Have you ever seen them plundering, burning, turning the countryside into a desert? Have you heard no tales of their black prince who was blacker than the devil himself, or of the English king's father?
You must not be afraid, Robert.
Damn you! I am not afraid. And who gave you leave to call me Robert?
You were called so in church in the name of our Lord. All the other names are your father's or your brother's or anybody's. Listen to me, Squire. At Trémouille, we had to fly to the next village to escape from the English soldiers. 3 of them were left behind, wounded. I came to know these 3 poor goddams quite well. They had not half my strength.
Do you know why they are called goddams?
No, everyone calls them goddams.
It is because they are always calling on their God to condemn their souls to perdition. That is what goddam means in their language. How do you like it?
God will be merciful to them, and they will act like his good children when they go back to the country he made for them and made them for. I have heard the tales of the Black Prince. The moment he touched the soil of our country, the devil entered into him and made him a black fiend. But at home, in the place made for him by God, he was good. It is always so. If I went into England against the will of God to conquer England and tried to live there and speak its language, the devil would enter into me. And when I was old, I should shudder to remember the wickedness I did.
Perhaps, but the more devil you were, the better you might fight. That is why the goddams will take Orleans. You cannot stop them, nor 10,000 like you.
1,000 like me can stop them. 10 like me can stop them with God on our side. You do not understand, Squire. Our soldiers are always beaten because they are fighting only to save their skins. And the shortest way to save your skin is to run away. Our knights are thinking only of the money they will make in ransoms. It is not kill or be killed with them, but pay or be paid. But I will teach them all to fight that the will of God may be done in France. And then they will drive the poor goddams before them like sheep. You and Polly will live to see the day where will not be an English soldier on the soil of France. And there will be but one king there. Not the feudal English king, but God's French one.
May all be rot, Polly, but the troops might swallow it, though nothing that we can say seems able to put any fight into them. Even the Dauphin might swallow it. And if she can put fight into him, she can put it into anybody.
I can see no harm in trying, can you? And there's something about the girl.
Now, listen you to me, and don't cut in before I have time to think.
Yes, Squire.
Your orders are that you are to go to Chinon under the escort of this gentleman and 3 of his friends.
Squire, your head is all circled with light like a saint's.
How's she to get into the royal presence?
I don't know, how did she get into my presence? If the Dauphin can keep her out, he's a better man than I take him for. I will send her to Chinon, and she can say I sent her. Then let come what may. I can do no more.
Oh, and the dress. I may have a soldier's dress, mayn't I, Squire?
Have what you please. I washed my hands of it.
Yeah! Come, Polly!
Goodbye, old man. I'm taking a big chance. Few other men would have done it, but as you say, there is something about her.
Yes, there is something about her. Goodbye.
Sir!
What now?
The hens, they're laying like mad, sir! 5 dozen eggs!
Christ in heaven. She did come from God.
Chignon, into Rheims. An end of the throne room in the castle, curtailed off to make an antechamber. It is late in the afternoon on the 8th of March, 1429.
The devil does the Dauphin mean by keeping us waiting like this? I don't know how you have the patience to stand there like a stone idol.
You see, I am the Archbishop, and an Archbishop is a sort of an idol. At any rate, he has to learn to keep still and suffer fools patiently. Besides, my dear Lord Chamberlain, is the Dauphin's royal privilege to keep you waiting?
Darn, Dauphin be damned. Saving your reverence. Do you know how much money he owes me?
Much more than he owes me. I have no doubt, because you are a much richer man. But I take it he owes you all that could afford to lend him, which is what he owes me.
27,000. That was his last haul. A cool 27,000.
What becomes of it all? He never has a suit of clothes that I would throw to a curate.
He dines on a chicken or a scrap of mutton. He borrows my last penny, and there's nothing to show for it. At last!
No, my lord, it is not his majesty. Monsieur de Ray is approaching.
Young Bluebeard. Why announce him?
Captain Lerhier is with him. Something has happened, I think.
Your faithful lamb, Archbishop. Good day, my lord. Do you know what has happened to Lerhier?
He has sworn himself into a fit, perhaps.
No, just the opposite. Foul-mouthed Frank, the only man in Touraine who could beat him at swearing, was told by a soldier that he shouldn't use such language when he was at the point of death.
Or at any other point. But was foul-mouthed Frank on the point of death?
Yes. He has just fallen into a well and been drowned. Lerhier is frightened out of his wits. I've just been telling the Chamberlain and the Archbishop. The Archbishop says you are a lost man.
This is nothing to joke about. It is worse than we thought. It was not a soldier, but an angel dressed as a soldier.
An angel?
Yes, an angel. She has made away from Champagne with half a dozen men through the thick of everything. Burgundians, goddams, deserters, robbers, and Lord knows who. And they never met a soul except the country folk. I know one of them, the Poulengey. He says she's an angel. If I ever utter an oath again, may my soul be blasted to eternal damnation.
A very pious beginning, Captain.
His Majesty?
Oh, Archbishop, do you know what Hubbell de Belgique is sending me from Courcelles?
I am not interested in the newest toys.
It isn't a toy. However, I can get on very well without your interests.
Your Highness is taking offense very unnecessarily.
Thank you. You're always ready with a lecture, aren't you?
Enough grumbling. What have you got there?
What is that to you?
It's my business to know what is passing between you and the garrison at Vauclair.
You all think you can treat me as you please because I owe you money and because I'm no good at fighting, but I have the blood royal in my veins.
Even that has been questioned, Your Highness. One hardly recognizes in you the grandson of Charles the Wise.
I want to hear no more of my grandfather. He was so wise that he used up the whole family stock of wisdom for 5 generations and left me, the poor fool I am, bullied and insulted by all of you.
Control yourself, sir. These outbursts of petulance are unseemly.
Another lecture. Thank you. What a pity it is that though you are an archbishop, saints and angels don't come to see you.
What do you mean?
Ask that bully there.
Hold your tongue, do you hear?
Oh, I hear. You needn't shout. The whole castle can hear. Why don't you go and shout at the English and beat them for me?
Young.
Raise your hand to me. That's high treason.
Come. This will not do, my lord. Chamberlain, please. We must keep some sort of order. And you, sir, if you cannot rule your kingdom, at least try to rule yourself.
Another lecture. Thank you.
Here, read the accursed thing for me. He has sent the blood boiling to my head. I can barely distinguish the letters.
I will read it for you if you like. I could read, you know.
Yes, reading is about all you're fit for. Can you make it out, Archbishop?
I should have expected more common sense from the Baldicore. He is sending some cracked country lass here.
Oh, he is sending a saint, an angel. She's coming to me, the king, and not to you, Archbishop. Holy as you are, she knows the blood royal, even if you don't.
Oh, you cannot be allowed to see this crazy wench.
But I am the king, and I will.
And she cannot be allowed to see you. Now!
I tell you I will. I'm going to put my foot down.
Naughty. What would your wise grandfather say?
That just shows your ignorance, Bluebeard. My grandfather had a saint who used to float in the air when she was praying, and she told him everything he wanted to know. My poor father had two saints, Marie de Mer and the Gasquet of Avignon. It is in our family, and I don't care what you say. I will have my saint too.
Preacher is not a saint. She is not even a respectable woman. She does not wear woman's clothes. She is dressed like a soldier and rides around the country with soldiers. Do you suppose such a person can be admitted to your highness's court?
Stop! Did you say a girl in armor like a soldier?
So the Baudegrecourt describes her.
But by all the devils in hell, oh, God forgive me. What am I saying? By Our Lady and all the saints, this must be the angel that struck foul-mouthed Frank dead for swearing.
You see? A miracle!
She may strike a lot of us dead if we cross her. For heaven's sake, Archbishop, be careful what you are doing.
Rubbish! Nobody has been struck dead. A drunken blackguard who has been rebuked 100 times for swearing has fallen into a well and been drowned? Ah, a mere coincidence.
I do not know what a coincidence is. I do know that the man is dead and that she told him he was going to die.
We are all going to die, Captain.
I hope not.
We can easily find out whether she is an angel or not. Let us arrange when she comes that I shall be the Dauphin and see whether she will find me out.
Yes, I agree to that. And if she cannot find the Blood Royal, I will have nothing to do with her.
It is for the church to make saints. Let the Baudegrecourt mind his own business and not dare usurp the function of his priest. I say the girl shall not be admitted.
But Archbishop...
I speak in the church's name. Do you dare say she shall?
Oh, if you make it an excommunication matter, I have nothing more to say, of course. But you haven't read the end of the letter. De Baudegrecourt says she will raise the siege of Orléans and beat the English for us.
Rot.
Well, will you save Orléans for us with all your bullying?
Don't throw that in my face again. Here, I have done more fighting than you ever did or ever will, but I cannot be everywhere.
Well, that's something.
You have Jacques Dunois at the head of your troops in Orléans. The brave Dunois, the handsome Dunois, the wonderful, invincible Dunois, the darling of all the ladies, the beautiful bastard. It is likely that the country lass can do what he cannot do?
Why doesn't he raise the siege then?
The wind is against him.
How can the wind hurt him at Orléans? It is not in the channel.
It is on the River Loire, and the English hold the bridgehead. He must ship his men across the river and upstream if he is to take them in the rear. Well, he cannot, because there is a devil of a wind blowing the other way. He is tired of paying the priest to pray for a west spring. What he needs is a miracle. You tell me what the girl did to foul-mouthed Frank was no miracle. No matter. It finished Frank. If she changes the wind for Dunois, that may not be a miracle either, but it may finish the English. What harm is there in trying?
It is true that the Baudegrecourt seems extraordinarily impressed.
De Baudegrecourt is a blazing ass, but he is a soldier. And if he thinks she can beat the English, all the rest of the army will think so too.
Oh, let them have their way. Dunois' men will give up the town in spite of him if somebody does not put some fresh spunk into them.
The church must examine the girl before anything decisive is done about her. However, since His Highness desires it, let her attend the court.
I will find her and tell her.
Come with me, Bluebeard, and let us arrange so that she will not know who I am. You pretend to be me.
Pretend to be that thing? Holy Michael.
I wonder, will she pick him out?
Of course she will.
Why? How is she to know?
She will know what everybody in Chinon knows, that the Dauphin is the meanest looking, worst dressed figure in the court, and that the man with the blue beard is Gilles de Roy.
Yeah. I had not thought of that.
You are not so accustomed to miracles as I. It is part of my profession.
But that would not be a miracle at all.
Oh, why not?
Well, come. What is a miracle?
A miracle, my friend, is an event which creates faith, and that is the purpose and nature of miracles. They may seem very wonderful to people who witness them and very simple to those who perform them. That does not matter. If they confirm or create faith, they are then true miracles.
Even when they are frauds, do you mean?
Oh, frauds deceive. An event which creates faith does not deceive. Therefore, it is not a fraud, but a miracle.
Well, I suppose as you are an archbishop, you must be right. It seems a bit fishy to me. But I am no churchman. I don't understand these matters.
You are not a churchman, but you are a diplomatist and a soldier. Could you make our citizens pay war taxes or our soldiers sacrifice their lives if they knew what is really happening instead of what seems to them to be happening?
No, by Saint Denis, the fat would be in the fire before sundown.
Would it not be quite easy to tell them the truth?
Man alive, they wouldn't believe it.
Just so. Well, the church has to rule men for the good of their souls, as you have to rule them for the good of their bodies. To do that, the church must do as you do, nourish their faith by poetry.
Poetry? I should call it humbug.
You would be wrong, my friend. Parables are not lies because they describe events that have never happened. Miracles are not frauds because they are often, I do not say always, very simple and innocent contrivances by which the priest fortifies the faith of his flock. When this girl picks out the Dauphin among his courtiers, it will not be a miracle for me because I know how it is done and my faith will not be increased. But as for others, they feel the thrill of the supernatural and forget their sinful clay in the sudden sense of the glory of God. It will be a miracle and a blessed one. And you will find that the girl herself will be more affected than anyone. She will forget how she really picked him out. So perhaps will you.
Oh. I wish I were clever enough to know how much of you is God's archbishop and how much is the most artful fox from Touraine. Come on, or we shall be late for the fun. I want to see it. Miracle or no miracle?
Do not think that I am a lover of crooked ways. There's a new spirit rising in men. We are the dawning of a wider epoch. If I were a simple monk and had not to rule men, I should seek peace for my spirit with Aristotle and Pythagoras, rather than with the saints and their miracles.
Who the deuce is Pythagoras?
A sage who held that the earth is round and that it moves around the sun.
What an utter fool. Couldn't he use his eyes?
The Duke of... The Duke of... Attention! The Duke of Verdun presents the maid to His Majesty.
Let her approach the throne.
Joan, dressed as a soldier with her hair bobbed and hanging thickly around her face, is led in by a bashful and speechless nobleman, from whom she detaches herself just to stop and look around eagerly for the Dauphin.
My dear, her hair!
Shh. Shh. Ladies.
I wear it like this because I am a soldier. Where be Dauphin?
You are in the presence of the Dauphin.
Comb, Bluebeard, thou canst not fool me. Where be Dauphin?
Joan, also with a broad grin, turns back, searching along the row of courtiers. and presently makes a dive and drags out Charles by the arm.
Ha! Gentle little Dauphin, I am sent to you to drive the English away from Orleans and from France, and to crown you king at the cathedral at Rome, where all true kings of France are crowned.
You see? All of you. She knew the blood royal. Who dare say now that I'm not my father's son? But if you want me to be crowned at Orleans, you must talk to the Archbishop, not me. There he is.
Oh, my lord. My lord, I am only a poor country girl, and you are filled with the blessedness and glory of God himself. But you will touch me with your hands and give me your blessing, won't you?
The old fox blushes.
Another miracle.
Child, you are in love with religion.
Am I? I never thought of that. Is there any harm in it?
There is no harm in it, my child, but there is danger.
There is always danger, except in heaven. Oh, my lord, you have given me such strength, such courage. It must be a most wonderful thing to be Archbishop.
Gentlemen, your levity is rebuked by this maid's faith. I am, God help me, all unworthy, but your mirth is a deadly sin.
My lord, we were laughing at her, not at you.
What? Not at my unworthiness, but at her faith? Gilles de Rais, this maid prophesied that the blasphemer should be drowned in his sin.
No!
I prophesy now that you will be hanged in yours if you do not learn when to laugh and when to pray.
My lord, I stand rebuked. I am sorry. I can say no more. But if you prophesy that I shall be hanged, I shall never be able to resist temptation, because I shall always be telling myself that I may as well be hanged for a sheep as a lamb.
You are an idle fellow, Bluebeard, and you have great impudence to answer the Archbishop.
Well said, lass. Well said.
Oh, my lord, will you send all these silly folks away so that I may speak with the Dauphin alone?
I can take a hint.
Come, gentlemen, and the maid comes with God's blessing and must be obeyed.
Will you allow me to pass, please?
Oh, beg pardon, ma'am, I'm sure. Be that queen?
No, she thinks she is.
Ugh.
I'll trouble your highness not to jibe at my wife.
Who be old Gruff and Grum?
He is the Duc de la Trémouille.
What be his job?
He pretends to command the army. And whenever I find a friend I can care for, he kills him.
Why just let him?
How can I prevent him? He bullies me. They all bully me.
Oh, art afraid?
Yes, I am afraid. It's no use preaching to me about it. It's all very well for these big men with their armor that is too heavy for me and their swords that I can hardly lift and their muscle and their shouting and their bad tempers. They like fighting. Most of them are making fools of themselves all the time. They are not fighting, but I am quiet and sensible, and I don't want to kill people. I only want to be left alone and enjoy myself in my own way. I never asked to be king. It was pushed on me. So if you're going to say, Son of Saint Louis, gird on the sword of your ancestors and lead us to victory, you may spare your breath to cool your porridge, for I cannot do it. I'm not built that way. There is an end of it.
Blathers, we are all like that to begin with. I shall put courage into thee.
But I don't want to have courage put into me. I want to sleep in a comfortable bed and not live in continual terror of being killed or wounded. Put courage into others and let them have their belly full of fighting. But let me alone.
It's no use, Charlie. Thou must face what God puts on thee. If thou fail to make thyself king, thou wilt be a beggar. What else art fit for? Come, Let me see thee sitting on the throne. I have looked forward to that.
What is the good of sitting on the throne when the other fellows give all the orders? However, here is the king for you. Look your fill at the poor devil.
Thou'rt not king yet, lad. Thou'rt but Dauphin. Be not led away by them around thee. Dressing up don't fill empty noddle. I know the people, the real people that make thy bread for thee. And I tell thee, they count no man king of France until the holy oil has been poured on his hair, and himself consecrated and crowned in Rome Cathedral. And thou needst new clothes, Charlie. Why does not Queen look after thee properly?
We're too poor. She wants all the money we can spare to put on our own back. Besides, I like to see her beautifully dressed, and I don't care what I wear myself. I should look ugly anyhow.
Oh, there is some good in thee, Charlie, but it is not yet a king's good.
We shall see. I am not such a fool as I look. I have my eyes open, and I can tell you that one good treaty is worth 10 good fights. These fighting fellows lose all on the treaties that they gain on the fights. We can only have a treaty. The English are sure to have the worst of it because they are better at fighting than at thinking.
If the English win, it is they that will make the treaty. And then God help poor France. Thou must fight, Charlie, whether thou will or no. I will go first to hearten thee. We must take our courage in both hands. Aye, and pray for it in both hands too.
Oh, do stop talking about God and praying. I can't bear people who are always praying. Isn't it bad enough that we have to do it at the proper times?
Aw, thou poor child, thou hast never prayed in thy life. I must teach thee from the beginning.
I am not a child. I am a grown man and a father, and I will not be taught any more.
Aye, you have a little son, he that will be Louis the 11th when you die. Would you not fight for him?
No, a horrid boy. He hates me. He hates everybody. Selfish little beast. I don't want to be bothered with children. I don't want to be a father. And I don't want to be a son, especially a son of Saint Louis. I don't want to be any of these fine things you all have your heads full of. I just want to be who I am. Why can't you mind your own business and let me mind mine?
Minding your own business is like minding your own body. It's the shortest way to make yourself sick. What is my business? Helping mother at home. What is thine? Petting lapdogs and sucking sugar sticks. I call that muck. I tell thee, it is God's business we are here to do, not our own. I have a message to thee from God, and thou must listen to it, though thy heart break with the terror of it.
I don't want a message. But can you tell me any secrets? Can you do any cures? Can you turn lead into gold or anything of that sort?
I can turn thee into a king in Rome Cathedral. And that is a miracle that will take some doing, it seems.
If we go to Laon and have a coronation, Anne will want new dresses. We can't afford them. I am all right as I am.
As you are? And what is that? Less than my father's poorest shepherd. Thou art not lawful owner of thy own land in France till thou be consecrated.
But I shall not be lawful owner of my land anyhow. Will the consecration pay off my mortgages? I have pledged my last acre to the Archbishop and that fat bully. I owe money even to Bluebeard.
Charlie, I come from the land and have gotten my strength working on the land. And I tell thee that the land is thine to rule righteously and keep God's peace in, and not to pledge at the pawn shop as a drunken woman pledges her children's clothes. And I come from God to tell thee to kneel in the cathedral and solemnly give thy kingdom to him forever and ever, and become the greatest king in the world as his steward and his bailiff, his soldier and his servant. The very clay of France will become holy. Her soldiers will be the soldiers of God. The rebel dukes will be rebels against God. The English will fall on their knees and beg thee to let them return to their lawful homes in peace. Wilt be a poor little Judas and betray me and him that sent me?
Oh, if I only dare.
I shall dare and dare and dare again in God's name. Art for or against me?
I'll risk it. I warn you, I shan't be able to keep it up, but I'll risk it. You shall see. Hello! Come back, everybody! Mind you, stand by and don't let me be bullied. Come along, will you? The whole court. Now, I'm in for it, but no matter. Here goes. Call for silence, you little beast, will you? Call for silence.
Silence for His Majesty the King. The King speaks. Will you be silent there?
I have given the command of the army to the maid. The maid is to do as she likes.
What is this? I command the army.
Thard answered, old Gruff and Grum. Who is for God and his maid? Who is for Orleans with me?
For God and His maid. So Orleans.
Joan, radiant, falls on her knees in thanksgiving to God. They all kneel except for the Archbishop, who gives his benediction with a sigh, and the Trémouille, who collapses, cursing.
Damn.
Orleans, 29 April 1429. Dunois, age 26, is pacing up and down a patch of ground on the south bank of the Silver Loire, commanding a long view of the river in both directions. He has had his lance stuck up with a pennon, which streams in a strong east wind. It is evening, and both man and boy are affected by the loveliness of the Loire.
West wind, west wind, west wind. Strumpet. Steadfast when you should be wanton, and wanton when you should be steadfast. Oh, west wind on the Silver Loire. What rhymes with wa? Change, curse you! Change! English harlot of a wind, change! West! West, I tell you! West wind, wanton wind, willful wind, womanish wind. Oh, false wind from over the water, will you never blow again?
See, there she goes!
Where? Who? The maid?
No, the kingfisher, like blue lightning. She went into that bush.
Is that all? You infernal young idiot. I have a mind to pitch you in the river.
It looked frightfully jolly, like that flash of blue. Oh, look, there goes the other.
Where?
Oh, passing the reeds.
I see.
You blew me up because you were not in time to see them yesterday.
You knew I was expecting the maid when you set up your yelping. I will give you something to yelp for next time.
Aren't they lovely? I wish I could catch them.
Let me catch you trying to trap them, and I will put you in the iron cage for a month to teach you what a cage feels like. You are an abominable boy. Bluebird, Bluebird, since I am friend to thee, change thou the wind for me. No, it does not rhyme. He who has sinned for thee, that's better. No sense in it, though. Mary in the blue snood, kingfisher color, will you grudge me a west wind?
Halt! Who goes there?
The maid.
Let her pass. Hither, maid, to me.
Joan, in splendid armor, rushes in the blazing rage. The wind drops and the pennon flaps idly down the lance, but Dunois is too much occupied with Joan to notice it.
Be you the bastard of Orleans?
You see the bend sinister? Are you Joan the maid?
Sure.
Where are your troops?
Miles behind. They have cheated me. They have brought me to the wrong side of the river.
I told them to.
Why did you? The English are on the other side.
The English are on both sides.
But Orleans is on the other side. We must fight the English there. How can we cross the river?
There is a bridge.
In God's name, then, let us cross the bridge and fall on them.
It seems simple, yet it cannot be done.
Who says so?
I say so. And older and wiser heads than mine are of the same opinion.
Then your older and wiser heads are fatheads. They have made a fool of you, and now they want to make a fool of me, too, bringing me to the wrong side of the river. Do you not know that I bring you better help than ever came to any general or any town?
Your own?
No, the help and counsel of the King of Heaven. Which is the way to the bridge?
You are impatient, maid.
Is this a time for patience? Our enemy is at our gates, and here we stand doing nothing. Oh, why are you not fighting? Listen to me. I will deliver you from fear, and I will...
No, my girl. If you delivered me from fear, I should make a good knight for a storybook, but a very bad commander of the army. Come, let me begin to make a soldier of you. Do you see those two forts at this end of the bridge? The big ones?
Yes. Are they ours or the goddam's?
Be quiet and listen to me. If I were in either of those forts with only 10 men, I could hold it against an army. The English have more than 10 times 10 goddams in those forts to hold them against us.
They cannot hold them against God. God did not give them the land under those forts. They stole it from him. He gave it to us. I will take those forts.
Single-handed?
Our men will take them. I will lead them.
Not a man will follow you.
I will not look back to see whether anyone is following me.
Good. You have the makings of a soldier in you. You are in love with war.
Oh, and the Archbishop said I was in love with religion.
I, God forgive me, am a little in war with love myself, the ugly devil. I am like a man with 2 wives. Do you want to be like a woman with 2 husbands?
I will never take a husband. A man in Toul took an action against me for breach of promise, but I never promised him. I am a soldier. I do not want to be thought of as a woman. I will not dress as a woman. I do not care for the things women care for. They dream of lovers and of money. I dream of leading a charge and of placing the big guns. You soldiers do not know how to use the big guns. You think you can win battles with a great noise and smoke.
True, half the time the artillery is more trouble than it's worth.
Aye, lad, but you cannot fight stone walls with horses. You must have guns. And much bigger guns, too.
Aye, lass, but a good heart and a stout ladder will get over the stoniest wall.
I will be first up the ladder when we reach the fort, bastard. I dare you to follow me.
You must not dare a staff officer, Joan. Only company officers allowed to indulge in displays of personal courage. Besides, you must know that I welcome you as a saint, not as a soldier. I have daredevils enough at my call if they could help me.
I'm not a daredevil. I am a servant of God. My sword is sacred. I found it behind the altar in the church of St. Catherine, where God hid it for me, and I may not strike a blow with it. My heart is full of courage, not of anger. I will lead, and your men will follow. That is all I can do. But I must do it. You shall not stop me.
All in good time. Our men cannot take those forts by a sally across the bridge. They must come by the water and take the English in the rear on this side.
Then make rafts and put big guns on them and let your men cross to us.
The rafts are ready and the men are embarked, but they must wait for God.
What do you mean? God is waiting on them.
Let him send us a wind then. My boats are downstream. They cannot come up against both wind and current. We must wait until God changes the wind. Come, let me take you to the church.
Oh, I love church, but the English will not yield to prayers. They understand nothing but hard knocks and slashes. I will not go to church until we have beaten them.
You must. I have business for you there.
What business?
To pray for a west wind. I have prayed and given 2 silver candlesticks, but my prayers are not answered. Yours may be. You are young and innocent.
Oh, yes, you're right. I will pray. I will tell St. Catherine, and she will make God give me a west wind. Quick, show me the way to the church. Ooh. God bless you, child. Come, bastard.
They go out. Page rises to follow. He picks up the shield and is taking the spear as well when he notices the pendant, which is now streaming eastward. Signor! Signor! Mademoiselle!
What is it? The kingfisher?
Oh, a kingfisher? Where?
No, the wind! The wind! The wind! That's what made me sneeze!
The wind has changed! You command, God has spoken. You command the king's army. I am your soldier.
The boats have put off. They're ripping upstream like anything.
Now for the forts. You dared me to follow. Dare you lead?
Oh, Dunois, dear comrade in arms, help me. Oh, my eyes are blinded with tears. Set my foot on the ladder and say, up, Joan.
Never mind the tears. Make for the flash of the guns.
Ah!
For God and St. Denis!
The maid! The maid! God and the maid! Hooray! A tent in the English camp.
Now this is what I call workmanship. There is nothing on earth more exquisite than a bonny book, with well-placed columns of rich black writing in beautiful borders, and illuminated pictures cunningly inset. But nowadays, instead of looking at books, people read them. A book might as well be one of those orders for bacon and bran that you are scribbling.
I must say, my lord, you take our situation very coolly indeed.
What is the matter?
The matter, my lord, is that we English have been defeated.
Don't hush, that happens, you know. It is only history books and ballads that are the enemy is always defeated.
But we are being defeated over and over and over again. First, Orléans.
Oh, pooh-pooh, oh, Orléans.
I know what you're going to say, my lord. That was a clear case of witchcraft and sorcery. But we are still being defeated. Yago, Mion, Beaugency, just like Orléans. And now we have been butchered at Patay and Sir John Talbot taken prisoner. Oh, I feel it, my lord. I feel it very deeply. I cannot bear to see my countrymen defeated by a hassle of foreigners.
Oh, you are an Englishman, are you?
Certainly. Certainly not, my lord. I am a gentleman. Well, still, like your lordship, I was born in England, and it makes a difference.
You are attached to the soil, eh?
It pleases your lordship to be satirical at my expense. Your greatness privileges you to be so with impunity, but your lordship knows very well that I am not attached to the soil in a vulgar manner, like a serf. But still, I have a feeling about it, and I am not ashamed of it, and, oh my God, if this goes on any longer, I will fling my cassock at the devil and take arms myself, and strangle the accursed witch with mine own hands.
So you shall, Chaplain, so you shall. If we can do nothing better, but not yet, not quite yet. I should not care very much about the witch. You see, I have made my pilgrimage to the Holy Land, and the heavenly powers, for their own credit, can hardly allow me to be worsted by a village sorceress. But the bastard of Orleans is a harder nut to crack, and as he has been to the Holy Land too, honors are easy between us as far as that goes.
Well, he is only a Frenchman, my lord.
A Frenchman! Where did you pick up that expression? Are these Burgundians and Bretons and Picards and Gascons beginning to call themselves Frenchmen, just as our fellows are beginning to call themselves Englishmen? They actually talk of France and England as their countries, theirs if you please. What is to become of me and you if that way of thinking comes into fashion?
Why, my lord, can it hurt us?
Men cannot serve two masters. If this cant of serving their country once takes hold of them, goodbye to the authority of their feudal lords, and goodbye to the authority of the church. That is, goodbye to you and me.
I hope I am a faithful servant of the church. And there are only 6 cousins between me and the barony of DeStogumber, which was created by the conqueror. But is there any reason why I should stand by and see Englishmen beaten by a French bastard and a witch from lousy Champagne?
Oh, easy, man, easy. We shall burn the witch and beat the bastard all in good time. Indeed, I am waiting at present for the Bishop of Beauvais to arrange the burning with him. He has been turned out of his diocese by her faction.
You'll have to catch her, my lord.
Or buy her. I will offer a king's ransom.
A king's ransom for that slut?
One has to leave a margin. Some of Charles's people will sell her to the Burgundians. The Burgundians will sell her to us. And there will probably be 3 or 4 middlemen who will expect their little commissions.
Right, Reverend the Beauvais, Bishop of Beauvais, Monsieur Cauchon.
My dear Bishop, how good of you to come. Allow me to introduce myself. Richard de Beauchamp, Earl of Warwick, at your service.
Your lordship's fame is well known to me.
This reverend cleric is Master John DeStogumber.
John, boy, Spencer Neville DeStogumber at your service, my lord. Bachelor of Theology and keeper of the private seal to His Eminence the Cardinal of Winchester.
You call him the Cardinal of England, I believe, our king's uncle.
Messire John DeStogumber, I am always the very good friend of His Eminence.
Do me the honor of being seated. Well, my Lord Bishop, you find us in one of our unlucky moments. Charles is to be crowned at Rennes, practically by the young woman from Lorraine. And, I must not deceive you nor flatter your hopes, we cannot prevent it. I suppose it will make a great difference to Charles's position.
Undoubtedly, it is a masterstroke of the maids.
We were not fairly beaten, my lord. No Englishman is ever fairly beaten.
Our friend here takes the view that the young woman is a sorceress. It would, I presume, to be the duty of your reverend lordship to denounce her to the Inquisition and have her burnt for that offense.
If she were captured in my diocese, yes.
Just so. Now, I suppose there can be no reasonable doubt that she is a sorceress.
Not the least. An errant witch.
We are testing for the bishop's opinion, Monsieur John.
We shall have to consider not only our own opinions here, but the opinions, the prejudices, if you like, of a French court.
A Catholic court, my lord.
Catholic courts are composed of mortal men, like other courts, however sacred their function and inspiration may be. And if the men are Frenchmen, as the modern fashion calls them, I'm afraid the bare fact that an English army has been defeated by a French one will not convince them that there is any sorcery in the matter.
What? Not when the famous Sir Talbot himself has been defeated and actually taken prisoner by a drab from the ditches of Lorraine?
Sir John Talbot, we all know, is a fierce and formidable soldier, messieurs. But I have yet to learn that he is an able general. And though it pleases you to say that he has been defeated by the girl, some of us may be disposed to give a little of the credit to Dunois.
Bastard of Orleans.
Let me remind you.
I know what you are going to say, my lord. Dunois defeated me at Montegris.
I take it that as evidence that Signor Dunois is a very able commander indeed.
Your lordship is the flower of courtesy. I admit on our side that Talbot is a mere fighting animal, and that it has probably served him right to be taken at Patay.
My lord, at Orleans, this woman had her throat pierced by an English arrow and was seen to cry like a child from the pain of it. It was a death wound, and yet she fought all day. And when our men had repulsed all her attacks like true Englishmen, she walked alone to the wall of our fort with a white banner in her hand, and our men were paralyzed. Couldn't neither shoot nor strike, while the French fell on them and drove them to the bridge, which immediately burst into flames and crumbled under them, letting them down to the river where they were drowned in heaps. Was this your bastard's generalship? Or were those flames the flames of hell conjured up by witchcraft?
You will forgive Monsieur John's vehemence, my lord, but he has put out our case. Dunois is a great captain, we admit, but why could he do nothing until the witch came?
Well, I do not say that there were no supernatural powers on her side, but the names on the white banner were not the names of Satan and Beelzebub, but the blessed names of our Lord and his Holy Mother. And your commander who was drowned, Glasdale, I think you called him?
Glasdale. Sir William Glasdale.
Glasdale, thank you. He was no saint, and many of our people think that he was drowned for his blasphemies against the maid.
Well, what are we to infer from all this, my lord? Has the maid converted you?
If she had, my lord, I should have known better than to have trusted myself here within your grasp.
Oh, my lord!
If the devil is making use of this girl, and I believe that he is, then, well...
Ah, you hear, Monsieur John. I knew your lordship would not fail us. Pardon my interruption. Proceed.
If it be so, the devil has longer views than you give him credit for.
Indeed. In what way? Listen to this, Monsieur John.
If the devil wanted to damn a country girl, do you think so easy a task would cost him the winning of half a dozen battles? No, my lord. Any trumpery imp could do that much if the girl be damned at all. The Prince of Darkness does not condescend to such cheap drudgery. Now he strikes the Catholic Church, whose realm is the whole spiritual world. When he damns the soul of the entire human race. Against that dreadful design, the Church stands ever on guard. And it is as one of the instruments of that design that I see this girl. She is inspired, but diabolically inspired.
I told you she was a witch.
She is not a witch. She is a heretic.
What difference does that make?
You, a priest, you ask me that. You English are strangely blunt in the mind. All these things that you call witchcraft are capable of natural explanation. The woman's miracles would not impose on a rabbit. She does not claim them as miracles herself. No, what do her victories prove but that she has a better head on her shoulders than your swearing Glasdells and mad bull Talbots, and that the courage of faith, even though it be a false faith, will always outstay the courage of wrath.
Does your lordship compare Sir John Talbot, 3 times Governor of Ireland, to a mad bull?
It would not be seemly for you to do so, Monsieur John, as you are still 6 removes from a barony. But as I am an earl and Talbot is only a knight, I make bold to accept the comparison. My lord, I wipe the slate as far as the witchcraft goes. Nonetheless, we must burn the woman.
I cannot burn her. The church cannot take life, and my first duty is to seek this girl's salvation.
No doubt. But you do burn people occasionally?
No. When the church cuts off an obstinate heretic as a dead branch from the tree of life, the heretic is handed over to the secular arm. The church has no part in what the secular arm may see fit to do.
Precisely. And I shall be the secular arm in this case. Well, my lord, hand over your dead branch, and I will see that the fire is ready for it. If you will answer for the church's part, I will answer for the secular part.
I can answer for nothing. You great lords are too prone to treat the church as a mere political convenience.
Not in England, I assure you.
Oh, in England more than anywhere else. No, my lord. The soul of the village girl is of equal value with yours or your king's before the throne of God. And my first duty is to save it. I will not suffer your lordship to smile at me as if I were repeating a meaningless form of words, and it were well understood between us that I should betray the girl to you. I am no mere political bishop. My faith is to me what your honor is to you. And if there be a loophole through which this baptized child of God can creep to her salvation, I shall guide her to it.
You are a traitor.
You lie, priest. If you dare do what this woman has done, set your country above the Holy Catholic Church, you shall go to the fire with her.
My lord, I went too far.
My lord, I apologize to you for the word used by Monsieur John DeStogumber. It does not mean in England what it does in France. In your language, traitor means betrayer, one who is perfidious, treacherous, unfaithful, disloyal. In our country, it means simply one who is not wholly devoted to our English interest.
I am sorry. I did not understand.
I must apologize on my own account if I have seemed to take the burning of this poor girl too lightly. When one has seen whole countrysides burnt over and over again as mere items in military routine, one has to grow a very thick skin. Otherwise one might go mad. At all events, I should. May I venture to assume that your lordship also, having to see so many heretics burned from time to time, is compelled to take, shall I say, a professional view of what would otherwise be a very horrible incident.
Yes, it is a painful duty, even as you say, a horrible one. But in comparison with the horror of heresy, it is less than nothing. I am not thinking of this girl's body, which will suffer for just a few moments only, and which must in any event die in some more or less painful manner, but of her soul, which may suffer for all eternity.
Just so, and God grant that her soul may be saved. But the practical problem would seem to be how to save her soul without saving her body. For we must face it, my lord. If this cult of the maid goes on, our cause is lost.
May I speak, my lord?
Really, Monsieur John, I had rather you did not. Unless you can keep your temper.
It is only this. I speak under correction, but the maid is full of deceit. She pretends to be devout. Her prayers and confessions are endless. How can she be accused of heresy when she neglects no observance of a faithful daughter of the church?
A faithful daughter of the church? Well, the Pope himself at his proudest dare not presume as this woman presumes. She acts as if she herself were the church. She brings the message of God to Charles, and the church must stand aside. She will crown him in the capital of Reims. She will do it, but not the church. She sends letters to the King of England, giving him God's command, though through her, to return to his island on the pain of God's vengeance, which she will execute. Let me tell you that the writing of such letters was the practice of the accused Mahomet, the Antichrist. Has she ever, in all of her utterances, said one word of the church? Never. It is always God and herself.
What can you expect? A beggar on horseback. Her head is turned.
And who has turned it? The devil, and for a mighty purpose. He is spreading his heresy everywhere. The man Huss, burnt only 13 years ago at Constance, infected all Bohemia with it. A man named Wycliffe, who himself an anointed priest, spread the pestilence in England. And to your shame, you let him die in his bed. And we have such people here in France, too. I know the breed. It is cancerous. If it is not cut out, stamped out, burned out, it will not stop until it has brought the whole body of human society into sin and corruption, into waste and ruin. Buy it an Arab camel driver to Christ's church out of Jerusalem and ravaged his way west like a wild beast until at last there stood only the Pyrenees and God's mercy between France and damnation? What did the camel driver do at the beginning more than this shepherd girl is doing? He had his voices from the angel Gabriel. She has her voices from St. Catherine and St. Margaret and the Blessed Michael. He declared himself the messenger of God and wrote in God's name to the kings of the earth. Her letters to them are going forth daily. It is not the mother of God now to whom we must look for intercession, but to Joan the maid. What will the world be like when the church is set, accumulating wisdom and knowledge and experience? Its councils of learned, venerable, pious men are thrust into the kennel by every ignorant laborer or dairymaid whom the devil can puff up with the monstrous self-conceit of being directly inspired from heaven. It will be a world of blood, of fury, of devastation, of each man striving for his own hand. In the end, the world wrecked back into barbarism. For now you have only Mahomet and his dupes, and the maiden and her dupes. But what will it be like when every girl thinks of herself a Joan, and every man a Mahomet? I shudder to the very marrow of my bones when I think of it. I have fought it all my life, and I will fight it to the end. Let this woman's sins be forgiven her, except only this sin, for it is a sin against the Holy Ghost. And if she does not recant in the dust before the world and submit herself to the last inch of her soul to her church, then to the fire she shall go if she once falls into my hand.
Oh, you must feel very strong about it, naturally.
Do not you?
I am a soldier, not a churchman. As a pilgrim, I saw something of the Mahometans. They were not so ill-bred as I had been led to believe. In some respects, their conduct compared favorably with ours.
I have noticed this before. Men go to the east to convert the infidels, and the infidels pervert them. The Crusader comes back more than half a Saracen, not to mention that all Englishmen were born heretics.
Englishmen? Heretics? Oh, my lord, must we endure this? His lordship is beside himself. How can what an Englishman believes be heresy? It is a contradiction in terms.
I absolve you, Messire DeStogumber, on the grounds of invincible ignorance. The thick air of your country does not breed theologians.
You would not say so if you heard us quarreling about religion, my lord. I am sorry you think I must be either a heretic or a blockhead, because as a traveled man, I know that the followers of Mahomet profess great respect for our Lord, and are more ready to forgive St. Peter for being a fisherman than your lordship is to forgive Mahomet for being a camel driver. But at least we can proceed in this matter without bigotry.
When men call the zeal of the Christian church bigotry, I know what to think.
They are only east and west views of the same thing.
Only east and west. Only.
Oh, my Lord Bishop, I am not gainsaying you. You will carry the church with you, but you have to carry the nobles also. To my mind, there is a stronger case against the maid than the one you have so forcibly put. Frankly, I am not afraid of this girl becoming another Mahomet and superseding the church by a great heresy. I think you exaggerate that risk. But you have noticed that in these letters of hers, she proposes to all the kings of Europe, as she has already pressed on Charles, a transaction which would wreck the whole social structure of Christendom.
Wreck the church, I tell you so.
My lord, pray get the church out of your head for a moment, and remember that there are temporal institutions in the world as well as spiritual ones. I and my peers represent the feudal aristocracy as you represent the church. We are a temporal power. Well, do you not see how this girl's idea strikes at us?
How does her idea strike you? As it strikes at all of us, through the church.
Her idea is that the king should give the realms to God, and then reign as God's bailiffs.
Quite sound theologically, my lord, but the king will hardly care, provided he reign. It is an abstract idea. It's a mere form of words.
By no means. It is a cunning device to supersede the aristocracy and make the king so an absolute autocrat. Instead of the king being merely the first among his peers, he becomes their master. That we cannot suffer. We call no man master. Nominally, we hold our lands and dignities from the king because there must be a keystone to the arch of human society. But we hold our lands in our own hands and defend them with our own swords and those of our own tenants. Now, by the maid's doctrine, the king will take our lands, and make them a present to God. And God will then vest them wholly in the king.
Well, need you fear that? I mean, you're the maker of kings, after all. York or Lancaster in England, Lancaster or Valois in France, they reign according to your pleasure.
Yes, but only as long as the people follow their feudal lords and know the king only as a traveling show, owning nothing but the highway that belongs to everybody. If the people's thoughts and hearts were turned to the king and their lords became only the king's servants in their eyes, the king could break us across his knee one by one. And then what should we be but liveried courtiers in his halls?
Well, still, you need not fear, my lord. Some men are born kings and some are born statesmen. The two are seldom the same. Where would the king find counselors to plan and carry out such a policy for him?
Perhaps in the church, my lord. Strike down the barons, and the cardinals will have it all their own way.
My lord, we shall not defeat the maid if we strive against each other. I know well that there is a will to power in the world. I know that while it lasts there will be a struggle between the emperor and the pope, between the dukes and the political cardinals, between the barons and the kings. The devil divides us and governs. I see you are no friend of the church. You are an earl first and last, as I am a churchman first and last. But can we not sink our differences in the face of a common enemy? I see now that what is in your mind is not that this girl has never once mentioned the church and thinks only of God or herself, but she has never once mentioned the peerage and thinks only of the king and herself.
Quite so. These two ideas of hers are the same idea at bottom. It goes deep, my lord. It is the protest of the individual soul against the interference of priest or peer between the private man and his God. I should call it Protestantism if I had to find a name for it.
You understand it wonderfully well, my lord. Scratch an Englishman and find a Protestant.
I think you are not entirely void of sympathy with the made secular heresy, my lord. I leave you to find a name for it.
Oh, you mistake me, my lord. I have no sympathy with their political presumptions. But as a priest, I have gained a knowledge of the minds of the common people. And there you will find another most dangerous idea. I can express it only by such phrases as France for the French, England for the English, Italy for the Italians, Spain for the Spanish, and so forth. It is sometimes so narrow and bitter in country folks, it surprises me that this country girl can rise above the idea of her village for its villagers. But she can. She does. When she threatens to drive the English from the soil of France, she is undoubtedly thinking of the whole extent of the country in which French is spoken. To her, the French-speaking people are what the Holy Scriptures describe as a nation. Call this side of her heresy nationalism, if you will. I can find you no better name for it. But I can only tell you that it is essentially anti-Catholic and anti-Christian. For the Catholic Church knows only one realm, and that is the realm of Christ's kingdom. Divide that kingdom into nations, and you dethrone Christ. Dethrone Christ, and who will stand between our throats and the sword? The world will perish in a welter of war.
Well, if you burn the Protestant, I will burn the nationalist. Though perhaps I shall not carry Monsieur John with me there. England for the English will appeal to him.
Certainly, England for the English goes without saying. It is the simple law of nature. But this woman denies to England her legitimate conquests, given her by God, but because of her peculiar fitness to rule over less civilized races for their own good. I do not understand what your lordship means by Protestant and nationalist. You are too learned and subtle for a poor clerk like myself. But I know, as a matter of plain common sense, that the woman is a rebel, and that is enough for me. She rebels against nature by wearing men's clothes and fighting. She rebels against the church by usurping the divine authority of the Pope. She rebels against God by her damnable league with Satan and his evil spirits against our army. And all these rebellions are only excuses for her great rebellion against England. For this is not to be endured. Let her perish. Let her burn. Let her not infect the whole flock. It is expedient that one woman die for the people.
My lord, we seem to be agreed.
I will not imperil my soul. I will uphold the justice of the church. I will strive to the utmost for this woman's salvation.
Oh, I am sorry for the poor girl. I hate these severities. I will spare her if I can.
I would burn her with my own hands.
Sancta simplicitas.
Come, Joan. You've had enough praying. After that fit of crying, you'll catch your chill if you stay here any longer. It is all over. The cathedral is empty and the streets are full. They are calling for the maid. We have told them you are staying here alone to pray, but they want to see you again.
No, let the king have all the glory.
He only spoils the show, poor devil. No, Joan, you have crowned him, and you must go through with it. Come, come, it will be over in a couple of hours. It's better than the bridge d'Orleans, eh?
Oh, dear Dunois, how I wish it were the bridge at Orleans again. We lived at that bridge.
Yes, Faith. And died too, some of us.
Isn't it strange, Jack? I'm such a coward. I'm frightened beyond words before a battle, but it is so dull afterwards when there is no danger. Ah, so dull, dull, dull.
You must learn to be abstemious in war, just as you are in your food and drink, my little saint.
Dear Jack, I think you like me as a soldier likes his comrade.
You need it, poor innocent child of God. You have not many friends at court.
Why do all these courtiers and knights and churchmen hate me? What have I done to them? I have asked nothing for myself except that my village should not be taxed, for we cannot afford war taxes. I have brought them luck and victory. I have set them right where they were doing all sorts of stupid things. I have crowned Charles and made him a real king, and all the honors he is handing out have gone to them. So then why do they not love me?
Simpleton! Do you expect stupid people to love you for showing them up? Do blundering old military dugouts love the successful young captains who supersede them? Do ambitious politicians love the climbers who take the front seats from them? Do archbishops enjoy being played off their own altars, even by saints? Why, I should be jealous of you myself if I were ambitious enough.
You are the pick of the basket here, Jack. The only friend I have among all these nobles. I'll wager your mother was from the country. I will go back to the farm when I have taken Paris.
I am not so sure that they will let you take Paris.
What?
I should have taken it myself before this, if they had been sound about it. Some of them would rather Paris took you, I think, so take care.
Jack, the world is too wicked for me. If the Goddams and the Burgundians do not make an end of me, the French will. Only for my voices I should lose all heart. That is why I had to steal away to pray here alone after the coronation. I'll tell you something, Jack. It is in the bells I hear my voices. Not today when they all rang. That was nothing but jangling. But here in this corner, where the bells come down from heaven, and the echoes linger, or in the fields where they came from a distance through the quiet of the countryside, my voices are in them. Hark! Did you hear? Dear child of God, just what you said. And at the half hour, they will say, be brave, go on. And at 3/4, they will say, I am thy help. But it is at the hour when the great bell goes after, God will save France. It is then that St. Margaret and St. Catherine, and sometimes even the Blessed Michael, will say things that I cannot tell beforehand. Then, oh, then.
Then, Joan, we shall hear whatever we fancy in the booming of the bell. You make me uneasy when you talk about your voices. I should think you were a bit cracked if I had not noticed that you give me very sensible reasons for what you do. Although I hear you telling others that you are only obeying Madame St. Catherine.
Well, I have to find reasons for you because you do not believe in my voices. But the voices come first, and I find the reasons after, whatever you may choose to believe.
Are you angry, Joan?
Yes. No, not with you. I wish you were one of the village babies.
Why?
I could nurse you for a while.
You are a bit of a woman after all.
No, not a bit. I am a soldier and nothing else. Soldiers always nurse children when they get the chance.
That is true. Well, Your Majesty is an anointed king at last. How do you like it?
I would not go through it again to be emperor of the sun and moon. The weight of those robes. I thought I should have dropped when they loaded that crown on me. And the famous holy oil they talked so much about was rancid. Whew. The Archbishop must be nearly dead. His robes must have weighed a ton. They are stripping him still in the vestry.
Your Majesty should wear armor more oftener. That would accustom you to heavy dressing.
Yes, the old jibe. Well, I am not going to wear armor. Fighting is not my job. Where's the maid?
Sire, I have made you king. My work is done. I am going back to my father's farm.
Oh, you are? Oh, well, that will be very nice. A healthy life, you know?
But a dull one.
You will find the petticoats tripping you up after leaving them off for so long.
You will miss the fighting. It's a bad habit, but a grand one, and the hardest of all to break yourself.
Still, we don't want you to stay if you would really rather go home.
I know well that none of you will be sorry to see me go.
Well, I shall be able to swear when I want to, but I shall miss you at times.
Lahir, in spite of all your sins and swears, we shall meet in heaven. For I love you as I love Pitu, my old sheepdog. Pitu could kill a wolf. You will kill the English wolves until they go back to their country and become good dogs of God, will you not?
You and I together, yes.
No. I shall last only a year from the beginning.
What?
I know it somehow.
Nonsense.
Jack, do you think you will be able to drive them out?
Yes, I shall drive them out. They beat us because we thought battles were tournaments and ransom markets. We played the fools while the goddams took war seriously. But I've learned my lesson and taken their measure. They have no roots here. I have beaten them before, and I shall beat them again.
You will not be cruel to them, Jack.
The goddams will not yield to tender handling. We did not begin it.
Jack, before I go home, let us take Paris.
Oh, no. We shall lose everything we have gained. Oh, don't let us have any more fighting. We can make a very good treaty with the Duke of Burgundy.
Treaty?
Well, why not? Now that I am crowned and anointed. Oh, that oil. Archbishop, the maid wants to start fighting again.
Have we ceased fighting then? Are we at peace?
No, I suppose not. But let us be content with what we have done. Let us make a treaty. Our luck is too good to last, and now is our chance to stop it before it turns.
Luck? God has fought for us, and you call it luck. And you would stop while there are still Englishmen on this holy earth of dear France.
Maid, the king addressed himself to me and not to you. You forget yourself. You very often forget yourself.
Then speak you and tell him that it is not God's will that he should take his hand from the plow.
I am not so glib with the name of God as you are. It is because I interpret his will and the authority of the church and of my sacred office. When you first came, you respected it and would not have dared to speak as you are speaking now, clothed with the virtue of humility. And because God blessed your enterprises accordingly, you have stained yourself with the sin of pride. The old Greek tragedy is rising among us. It is the chastisement of hubris.
Yes, she thinks she knows better than everyone else.
But I do know better than any of you seem to. And I am not proud. I never speak unless I know I am right.
Just so.
How do you know you are right?
I always know. My voices.
Oh, your voices. Why don't the voices come to me? I am king, not you.
They do come to you, but you do not hear them. You have not sat in the field in the evening listening for them. When the Angelus rings, you cross yourself and have done with it. But if you prayed from your heart and listened to the thrilling of the bells in the air after they stopped ringing, you would hear the voices as well as I do. But what voices do you need to tell you what the blacksmith can tell you? That you must strike while the iron is hot. I tell you, we must make a dash at Compiègne and relieve it as we relieved Orléans. Then Paris will open its gates. Or if not, we will break through them. What is your crown worth without your capital?
That is what I say too. We shall go through them like a red-hot shot through a pound of butter. What do you say, bastard?
If our cannonballs were as hot as your head, and we had enough of them, we should conquer the earth, no doubt. Pluck and impetuosity are good servants in war, but bad masters. They have delivered us into the hands of the English every time we have trusted them. We never know when we are beaten. That is our great fault.
You never know when you are victorious. That is a worse fault. I shall have to make you carry looking glasses in battle to convince you that the English have not cut off all your noses. You would have been besieged in Orleans still, you and your councils of war, if I had not made you attack. You should always attack, and if you only hold on long enough, the enemy will stop first. You don't know how to begin a battle, and you don't know how to use your cannons, and I do.
I know what you think of us, General Joan.
Never mind that, Jack. Tell them what you think of me.
I think that God was on your side, for I have not forgotten how the wind changed and how our hearts changed when you came by. And by my faith, I shall never deny that it was in your sign that we conquered. But I tell you, as a soldier, that God is no man's daily drudge, and no maid's either. If you are worthy of it, he will sometimes snatch you out of the jaws of death and set you on your feet again. But that is all. Once on your feet, you must fight with all your might and all your craft. For he has to be fair to the enemy too. Don't forget that. Well, he set us on our feet through you at Orleans, and the glory of it has carried us through a few good battles here to the coronation. But if we presume on it further and trust to God to do the work we should do ourselves, we shall be defeated, and serve us right.
But...
Shh, I have not finished. Do not think, any of you, that these victories of ours were won without generalship. King Charles, you have said no word in your proclamations of my part in this campaign, and I make no complaint of that, for the people will run after the maid and her miracles, and not after the bastard's hard work finding troops for her and feeding them. But I know exactly how much God did for us, though, through the maid, and how much he left for me to do by my own wits. And I tell you that your little hour of miracles is over, and that from this time on, he who plays the war game best will win, if luck is on his side.
Ah, if. If it's and ands were pots and pans, there'd be no need of tinkers. I tell you, bastard, your art of war is no use, because your knights are no good for real fighting. War is only a game to them, like tennis and all their other games. They make rules as to what is fair and what is not fair, and heap armor on themselves and use their poor horses to keep out the arrows. And when they fall, they can't get up and have to wait for their squires to come and lift them to arrange the ransom with the man that has poked them off their horse. Can't you see that all of that is gone and done with? What use is their armor against gunpowder? And if it was, do you think that men that are fighting for France and for God will stop to bargain about ransoms, as half your knights live by doing? No. They will fight to win, and they will give up their lives out of their own hand into the hand of God when they go into battle, as I do. Common folk understand this. They cannot afford armor and cannot pay ransoms, but they followed me half naked into the moat and up the ladder and over the wall. With them, it is my life or thine, and God defend the right. You may shake your head, Jack, and Bluebeard may twirl his billy goat's beard and cock his nose at me, but remember the day your knights and captains refused to follow me to attack the English at Orleans. You locked the gates to keep me in, and it was the townsfolk and the common people that followed me and forced the gate and showed you the way to fight in earnest.
Not content with being Pope, Joan, you must be Caesar and Alexander as well.
Pride will have a fall, Joan.
Oh, never mind whether it is pride or not. Is it true? Is it common sense?
It is true. Half of us are afraid of having our handsome noses broken, and the other half are out paying off their mortgages. Let her have her way, Dunois. She does not know everything. She has got hold of the right end of the stick. Fighting is not what it was, and those who know least about it often make the best job of it.
And I know all that. I do not fight in the old way. I have learned the lesson of Agincourt, of Poitiers, and Crécy. I know how many lives any move of mine will cost, and if the move is worth the cost, I make it and pay the cost. But Joan never counts the cost at all. She goes ahead and trusts to God. She thinks she has God in her pocket. Up to now, she has had the numbers on her side, and she has won. But I know Joan, and I see that someday she will go ahead when she has only 10 men to do the work of 100, and then she will find that God is on the side of the big battalions. She will be taken by the enemy, and the lucky man that makes the capture will receive 16,000 pounds from the Earl of Warwick.
16,000 pounds? Hey, laddie, have they offered that for me? There cannot be so much money in the world.
There is in England. And now tell me, all of you, which of you will lift a finger to save Joan once the English have got her? I speak first for the army. The day after she has been dragged from her horse by a goddamn or a Burgundian, and he is not struck dead, the day after she is locked in a dungeon and the bars and bolts do not fly open at the touch of St. Peter's angel, the day when the enemy finds out that she is as vulnerable as I am and not a bit more invincible, she will not be worth a life of a single soldier to us, and I will not risk that life, much as I cherish her as a companion in arms.
I don't blame you, Jack. You're right. I am not worth one soldier's life if God lets me be beaten. But France may think my ransom worth it after what God has done for her through me.
I tell you, I have no money. And this coronation, which is all your fault, has cost me the last farthing I can borrow.
The church is richer than you. I put my trust in the church.
Woman, they will drag you through the streets.
If you want the last minute, they tell you.
Rich. Peter Cauchon knows his business. The University of Paris has burnt a woman for saying that what you have done was well done and according to God.
Oh, my lord, but that is impossible. What sense is in it? What I have done is according to God. They could not burn a woman for speaking the truth.
They did.
But you know that you are speaking the truth. You would not let them burn me.
How could I prevent them?
You would speak in the name of the church. You are a great prince of the church. I would go anywhere with your blessing to protect me.
I have no blessings for you while you are proud and disobedient.
Oh, why will you go on saying things like that? I am not proud and disobedient. I am a poor girl and so ignorant that I do not know A from B. How could I be proud? And how can you say that I am disobedient when I always obey my voices because they come from God?
The voice of God on earth is the voice of the church, militant. And all the voices that come to you are the echoes of your own willfulness.
It is not true.
You tell the Archbishop in his cathedral that he lies, yet you say you are not proud and disobedient.
I never said you lied. It was you that as good as said my voices lied. When have they ever lied? If you will not believe in them, even if they are only the echoes of my own common sense, are they not always right? And are not your earthly counsels always wrong?
It is a waste of time admonishing you.
Always comes back to the same thing. She is right and everyone else is wrong.
Take this as your last warning. If you perish through setting your private judgment above the instructions of your spiritual directors, the church disowns you and leaves you to whatever fate your presumption may bring to you. The bastard has told you that if you persist in setting up your military conceit above the counsels of your commanders.
To put it quite exactly, if you attempt to relieve the garrison in Compiègne without the same superiority in numbers as you had in Orléans,
and the army will disown you and will not rescue you. And His Majesty the King has told you that the throne has not the means of ransoming you.
Not a penny.
You stand alone, absolutely alone, trusting to your own conceit, your own ignorance, your own headstrong presumption, your own piety, and hiding all these sins under the cloak of a trust in God. When you pass through these doors into the sunlight, the crowd will cheer you. They will bring you their little children and their invalids to heal. They will kiss your hands and feet and do what they can, poor simple souls, to turn your head and madden you with self-confidence that's leading you to your destruction. But you will be nonetheless alone. They cannot save you. We, and only we, can stand between you and the stake at which our enemies have burnt that wretched woman in Paris.
I have better friends and counsel than yours.
I see that I am speaking in vain to a hardened heart. Yet you reject our protection and are determined to turn us all against you. In future, then, and for yourself, if you fail, God have mercy on your soul.
That is a truth, Joan. Heed it.
Where would you all have been now if I had heeded that sort of truth? There is no help, no counsel in any of you. Yes, I am alone on earth. I have always been alone. My father told my brothers to drown me if I would not stay to mind his sheep while France was bleeding to death. France might perish if only our lambs were safe. I thought France would have friends at the court of the King of France, and I find only wolves fighting for pieces of her poor, torn body. I thought God would have friends everywhere because He is the friend of everyone. And in my innocence, I believe that you who now cast me out would be like strong towers to keep harm from me. But I am wiser now, and nobody is any worse for being wiser. Do not think you can frighten me by telling me that I am alone. France is alone, and God is alone. And what is my loneliness before the loneliness of my country and my God? I see now that the loneliness of God is His strength. And what would He be if He listened to your jealous little counsels? Well, my loneliness shall be my strength too. It is better to be alone with God. His friendship will not fail me, nor His counsel, nor His love. In His strength I will dare and dare and dare until I die. I will go out now to the common people and let the love in their eyes comfort me for the hate in yours. You will all be glad to see me burnt. But if I go through the fire, I shall go through it to their hearts forever and ever. And so God be with me.
You know, the woman is quite impossible. I don't dislike her really, but what are you to do with such a character?
As God is my judge, if she fell into the Loire, I would jump in full armor to fish her out. But if she plays the fool at Compiègne and gets caught, I must leave her to her doom.
Then you had better chain me up, for I could follow her to hell when the spirit rises in her like that.
She disturbs my spirit too, my judgment. There is dangerous power in her outburst. But the pit is open at her feet, and for good or evil, we cannot turn her from it.
Only she would keep quiet or go home. We follow her dispiritedly.
Rouen, 30 May 1431. A great stone hall in the castle, arranged for a trial at law. Great hall. I suppose your lordship is aware that we have no business here. This is an ecclesiastical court and we are only the secular arm.
I am aware of the fact. Will it please your impudence to find the Bishop of Beauvais for me and give him a hint that he can have a word with me here before the trial if he wishes?
Yes, my lord.
And mind you, behave yourself. Do not address him as Pious Peter.
No, my lord. I shall be kind to him because when the maid is brought in, Pious Peter will have to pick a peck of pickled pepper.
Ah.
The Right Reverend His Lordship the Bishop of Beauvais and 2 other reverend gentlemen.
Get out and see that we are not interrupted.
Right, my lord.
I wish your lordship good morrow.
Good morrow to your lordship. I do apologize for that interruption. Have I had the pleasure of meeting your friends before? I think not.
This, my lord, is Brother John Lemaitre of the Order of St. Dominic. He is acting as deputy for the chief inquisitor into the evil of heresy. Brother John, the Earl of Warwick.
Your reverence is most welcome. We have no inquisitor in England, unfortunately, though we miss him greatly on occasions like the present.
And this gentleman is Canon John Destive of the chapter of Bayou. He is acting as the promoter.
Promoter?
A prosecutor, you would call him in civil.
Ah, prosecutor. Quite. I am very glad to make your acquaintance, Canon Destive. May I ask what stage the proceedings have reached? It is now more than 9 months since the maid was captured at Courcelles by the Burgundians. It is fully 4 months since I bought her from the Burgundians for a very handsome farm, solely that she might be brought to justice. It is very nearly 3 months since I delivered her up to you, my Lord Bishop, as a person suspected of heresy. May I suggest that you are taking a rather unconscionable time to make up your mind about a very plain case? Is this trial never going to end?
It has not yet begun, my lord.
Not yet begun? Why, you have been at it 11 weeks.
We have not been idle, my lord. We have held the 15 examinations of the maid, 6 public and 9 private.
You see, my lord, I have been present at only 2 of these examinations. They were proceedings of the bishop's court solely and not of the Holy Office. I have only just decided to associate myself, that is, to associate the Holy Inquisition with the bishop's court. I did not at first think this was a case of heresy at all. I regarded it as a political case, and the maid as a prisoner of war. But having now been present at 2 of the examinations, I must admit that this seems to be one of the gravest cases of heresy within my experience. Therefore, everything is now in order, and we proceed to trial this morning.
This moment, if your lordship's convenience allows.
Well, that is good news, gentlemen. I will not attempt to conceal from you that our patience was becoming strained.
So I gathered from the threats of your soldiers to drown those of our people who favor the maid.
Dear me. At all events, their intentions were friendly to you, my lord.
Oh, I hope not. I am determined that the woman shall have a fair hearing. The justice of the church is not a mockery, my lord.
Never has there been a fairer examination from my experience, my lord. The maid needs no lawyers to take her part. She will be tried by her most faithful friends, all ardently desirous to save her soul from perdition.
Sir, I am the promoter, and it has been my painful duty to present the case against the girl. But believe me, I would throw up my case today and hasten to her defense if I did not know that men far my superiors in learning and piety, in eloquence and persuasiveness, have been sent to reason with her, to explain to her the danger she is running and the ease with which she may avoid it. Men have dared to say that we are acting from hate, but God is our witness that they lie. Have we tortured her? No. Have we ceased to exhort her, to implore her, to have pity on herself, to come to the bosom of a church as an erring but beloved child? Have we?
Take care, Canon. All that you say is true. But if you make his lordship believe it will not answer for your life and hardly for my own.
Oh, my lord, you are very hard on us poor English. But we certainly do not share your pious desire to save the maid. In fact, I tell you now plainly that her death is a political necessity which I regret but cannot help. If the church lets her go,
If the church lets her go, woe to the man were he the emperor himself who dares lay a finger on her. The church is not subject to political necessity, my lord.
You need have no anxiety about that point, my lord. You have an invincible ally in the matter, one who is far more determined than you that she shall burn.
And who is this very convenient partisan, may I ask?
The maid herself. Unless you put a gag in her mouth, you cannot prevent her from convicting herself 10 times over every time she opens it.
That is perfectly true, my lord. My hair bristles on my head when I hear so young a creature utter such blasphemies.
Well, by all means, do your best for her if you are quite sure it would be of no avail. I should be sorry to have to act without the blessing of the church.
And yet they say Englishmen are hypocrites. You play for your side, my lord, even at the peril of your soul. I cannot but admire such devotion, but I dare not go so far myself. I fear damnation.
If we feared anything, we could never govern England, my lord. Shall I send your people in to you?
Yes, it will be very good of your lordship to withdraw and allow the court to assemble. What scoundrels these English nobles are.
All secular power makes men scoundrels. They are not trained for the work, and they have not the apostolic succession. Our own nobles are just as bad.
Good morning, Master DeStogumber, Chaplain to the Catholic Cardinal of England.
Winchester, my lord. I have to make a protest, my lord.
Well, you make a great many.
Well, I am not without support, my lord. Here is Master de Courcelles, Canon of Paris, who associates himself with me in my protest.
Well, what is the matter?
Speak you, Master de Courcelles, since I do not seem to enjoy his lordship's confidence.
My lord, we have been at great pains to draw up an indictment of the maid on 64 counts. We're not told they have been reduced without consulting us.
Master de Courcelles, I am the culprit. I am overwhelmed with admiration for the zeal displayed in your 64 counts. But in accusing a heretic, as in other things, enough is enough. And also, you must remember that all the members of the court are not so subtle and profound as you, and some of your very great learning might appear to them to be very great nonsense. Therefore, I have thought it well to have your 64 articles cut down to 12.
12?
12 will, believe me, be quite enough for your purpose.
But some of the most important points have been reduced almost to nothing. For instance, the maid has actually declared that the blessed Saints Margaret and Catherine and the holy angel, Archangel Michael, spoke to her in French. That is a vital point.
You think, doubtless, that they should have spoken in Latin?
No, he thinks they should have spoken in English.
Naturally, my lord.
Well, as we are all agreed, I think that these voices of the maid are the voices of evil spirits tempting her to damnation. It would not be very courteous to you, Master DeStogumber, or to the King of England, to assume that English is the devil's native tongue. So let it pass. The matter is not wholly omitted from the 12 articles. Pray take your places, gentlemen, and let us proceed to business.
Well, I protest. That is all.
I think it hard that all our work should go for nothing. It is only another example of the diabolical influence which this woman exercises over the court.
Do you suggest that I am under diabolical influence?
I suggest nothing, my lord, but it seems to me that there is a conspiracy here to hush up the fact the maid stole the Bishop of Senlis' horse.
This is not a police court. Are we to waste our time on such rubbish?
My lord, do you call the bishop's horse rubbish?
Sir de Courcelles, the maid alleges that she paid handsomely for the bishop's horse, and that if he did not get the money, the fault was not hers. As that may very well be true, the point is one on which the maid may well be acquitted.
Yes, if it were an ordinary horse. But the bishop's horse, how can she be acquitted for that?
I submit to you, with great respect, that if we persist in trying the maid on trumpery issues, on which we may have to declare her innocent, she may escape us on the great main issue of heresy, on which she seems so far to insist on her own guilt. I will ask you, therefore, to say nothing, when the maid is brought before us, of the stealings of horses, and dancing round fairy trees with the village children, and prayings at haunted wells, and a dozen other things which you were diligently inquiring into until my arrival. There's not a village girl in France against whom you could not prove such things. They all dance around haunted trees and pray at magic wells. Some of them would steal the Pope's horse if they got the chance. Heresy, gentlemen. Heresy is the charge we have to try. The detection and suppression of heresy is my peculiar business. I am here as an inquisitor, not as an ordinary magistrate. Stick to the heresy, gentlemen, and leave the other matters alone.
I may say that we have sent to the girl's village to make inquiries about her, and there is practically nothing serious against her.
Nothing serious, my lord?
What? The fairy tree, not?
Well, be silent, gentlemen, or speak one at a time.
That is what the maid said to us last Friday.
I wish you had followed her counsel, sir. When I say nothing serious, I mean nothing that men of sufficiently large mind to conduct an inquiry like this would consider to be serious. I agree with my colleague, the Inquisitor, that it is on the count of heresy that we must proceed.
But is there any great harm in the girl's heresy? It is not merely her simplicity. Many saints have said as much as Joan.
Brother Martin, you have seen what I have seen of heresy. You would not think it a light thing, even in its most apparently harmless and even lovable and pious origins. Heresy begins with people who are, to all appearance, better than their neighbors. A gentle and pious girl, or a young man who has obeyed the command of our Lord by giving all his riches to the poor and putting on the garb of poverty, the life of austerity, and the rule of humility and charity, may be the founder of a heresy that will wreck both church and empire, if not ruthlessly stamped out in time. The records of the Holy Inquisition are full of histories that we dare not give to the world, because they are beyond the belief of honest men and innocent women. Yet they all begin with saintly simpletons. I've seen this again and again. Mark what I say. The woman who quarrels with her clothes and puts on the dress of a man is like the man who throws off his fur gown and dresses like John the Baptist. They are followed, as surely as the night follows the day, by bands of wild women and men who refuse to wear any clothes at all. When maids will neither marry nor take regular vows, and men reject marriage and exalt their lusts into divine inspirations, then, as surely as summer follows the spring, they begin with polygamy and end with incest. Heresy at first seems innocent and even laudable, but it ends in such monstrous horror of unnatural wickedness that the most tender-hearted among you, if you saw it as work as I have seen it, would clamor against the mercy of the church in dealing with it. For 200 years, the Holy Office has striven with these diabolical madnesses, and it knows that they always begin by vain and ignorant persons setting up their own judgment against the church and taking it upon themselves to be interpreters of God's will. You must not fall into the common error of mistaking these simpletons for liars and hypocrites. They believe honestly and sincerely that their divine inspiration is in fact not diabolical at all. Therefore, you must be on your guard against your natural compassion. You are all, I hope, merciful men. How could you have devoted your lives to the service of our gentle Savior? You are going to see before you a young girl, pious and chaste. For I must tell you, gentlemen, that the things said of her by our English colleagues are supported by no evidence, whilst there is abundant testimony that her excesses have been excesses of religion and charity and not of worldliness and wantonness. This girl is not one of those whose hard features are the sign of hard hearts, and whose brazen looks and lewd demeanor condemn them before they are accused. The devilish pride that has led her into her present peril has left no mark on her countenance. Strange as it may seem to you, she has even left no mark on her character outside of those special matters in which she is proud, so that you will see a diabolical pride and a natural humility seated side by side in the self-same soul. Therefore be on your guard. God forbid that I should tell you to harden your hearts. For her punishment, if we condemn her, will be so cruel that we should forfeit our own hope of divine mercy were there one grain of malice against her in our hearts. But if you hate cruelty, and if any man here does not hate it, I command him on his soul's salvation to quit this holy court. I say, if you hate cruelty, remember nothing is so cruel in its consequences as the toleration of heresy. Remember also that no court of law can be so cruel as the common people are to those whom they suspect of heresy. The heretic in the hands of the Holy Office is safe from violence, is assured of a fair trial, and cannot suffer death, even when guilty if repentance follows sin. Innumerable lives of heretics have been saved because the Holy Office has taken them out of the hands of the people, and because the people have yielded them up, knowing that the Holy Office would deal with them. Before the Holy Inquisition existed, and even now when its officers are not within reach, the unfortunate wretch suspected of heresy, perhaps quite ignorantly and unjustly, is stoned, torn to pieces, drowned, burned in his house with all his innocent children, without a trial, unshriven, unburied, save as a dog is buried. All of them deeds hateful to God and most cruel to man. Gentlemen, I am compassionate by nature as well as by my profession, and through the work I have to do may seem cruel to those who do not know much more of cruelty. If I would leave it undone, I would go to the stake myself sooner than do it if I did not know its righteousness, its necessity, its essential mercy. I ask you to address yourself to this trial in that conviction. Anger is a bad counselor. Cast out anger. Pity is sometimes worse. Cast out pity. But do not cast out mercy. Remember only that justice comes first. Have you anything to say, my lord, before we proceed to trial?
Well, you have spoken for me and spoken better than I could. I do not see how any sane man could disagree with the word that has fallen from you. But this I will add. The crude heresies of which you have told us are horrible. But their horror is like that of the Black Death. They rage for a while and then die out because sound and sensible men will not, under any incitement, be reconciled to nakedness and incest and polygamy and the like. But we are confronted today throughout Europe with a heresy that is spreading among men not weak in mind, nor diseased in brain. Nay, the stronger the mind, the more obstinate the heretic. It is neither discredited by fantastic extremes, nor corrupted by the common lust of the flesh. But it too sets up the private judgment of the single erring mortal against the considered wisdom and experience of the church. The mighty structure of Catholic Christendom will never be shaken by naked madmen or by the sins of Moab and Ammon. But it may be betrayed from within and brought to barbarous ruin and desolation. by this arch heresy, which the English commander calls Protestantism.
Protestantism.
What is that?
Oh my God, is that?
That reminds me, what provision has the Earl of Warwick made for the defense of the secular arm, should the maid prove obdurate and the people be moved to pity her?
Have no fear on that score, my lord. The noble earl has 800 men at arms at the gates. She will not slip through our English fingers, even if the whole city be on her side.
Will you not add, God grant that she repent and purge her sin?
That does not seem to me to be consistent. But of course, I agree with your lordship.
The court sits.
Let the accused be brought in.
The accused.
By the ankles.
Let her be brought in.
Joan, changed by the ankles, is brought in through the arched door behind the prisoner's stool by a guard of English soldiers.
Sit down, Joan. You look very pale today. Are you well?
Thank you kindly. I am well enough. But the bishop sent me some carp and it made me ill.
I'm sorry. I told him to see that it was fresh.
You meant to be good to me, I know, but it is a fish that does not agree with me. The English thought you were trying to poison me.
What?
No, my lord.
They are determined that I shall be burnt as a witch, and they sent their doctor to cure me, but he was forbidden to bleed me because the silly people believe that a witch's witchery leaves her if she is bled. So he only called me filthy names. Why do you leave me in the hands of the English? I should be in the hands of the church. And why must I be chained by the feet to a log of wood? Are you afraid I will fly away?
Woman, it is not for you to question the court. It is for us to question you.
When you were left unchained, did you not try to escape by jumping from a tower 60 feet high? If you cannot fly like a witch, how is it that you are still alive?
I suppose because the tower was not so high then. It has grown every day since you began asking me questions about it.
Why did you jump from the tower?
How do you know that I jumped?
You are found lying in the moat. Why did you leave the tower?
Why would anybody leave a prison if they could get out?
You tried to escape?
Of course I did. And not for the first time either. If you leave the door of the cage open, the bird will fly out.
That is a confession of heresy. I call the attention of the court to it.
Heresy, he calls it. Am I a heretic because I try to escape from a prison?
Assuredly. If you are in the hands of the church and you willfully take yourself out of its hands, you are deserting the church, and that is heresy.
It is great nonsense. Nobody could be such a fool as to think that.
You hear, my lord? How I am reviled in the execution of my duty by this woman.
I have warned you before, Joan, that you are doing yourself no good by these pert answers.
But you will not talk sense to me. I am reasonable if you will be reasonable.
That is not yet in order. You forget, Master Promoter, that the proceedings have not formally opened. Time for questions is after she has sworn on the Gospels to tell us the whole truth.
You say this to me every time. I have said again and again that I will tell you all that concerns this trial. But I cannot tell you the whole truth. God does not allow the whole truth to be told. You do not understand it when I tell it. It is an old saying that he who tells too much truth is sure to be hanged. I am weary of this argument. We have been over it 9 times already. I have sworn as much as I will swear, and I will swear no more.
My lord, she should be put to the torture.
Dear Joan, this is what happens to the obdurate. Think before you answer. Has she been shown the instruments?
Already, my lord, she has seen them.
If you tear me limb from limb until you separate my soul from my body, you will get nothing out of me beyond what I have told you. What more is there to tell you that you can understand? Besides, I cannot bear to be hurt. And if you hurt me, I will say anything you like to stop the pain, but I will take it all back afterwards, so what's the use of it?
There is much in that. We should proceed mercifully.
But the torture is customary.
Not be applied wantonly. If the accused will confess voluntarily, then its use cannot be justified.
But this is unusual and irregular. She refuses to take the oath.
Do you want to torture the girl for the mere pleasure of it?
But it is not a pleasure. It is the law. It is customary. It is always done.
That is not so, Master, except when the inquiries are carried on by people who do not know their legal business.
But the woman is a heretic. I assure you, it's always done.
It will not be done today. It is not necessary. Let there be an end of this. I will not have it said that we proceeded on forced confessions. We have sent our best preachers and doctors to this woman to exhort and implore her to save her soul and her body from the fire. We shall not now send the executioner to thrust her into it.
Your lordship is merciful, of course, but it is a great responsibility to depart from the usual practice.
Thou art a rare noodle, master. Do what was done last time is thy rule, eh?
Thou wanton! Dost thou dare call me a noodle?
Patience, Master. Patience. I fear you will soon be only too terribly avenged.
Noodle indeed.
Meanwhile, let us not be moved by the rough side of a shepherd lass's tongue.
Nay, I am no shepherd lass, though I have help with the sheep like anyone else. I will do a lady's work in the house, spin or weave against any woman in Rouen.
This is not the time for vanity, Joan. You stand in great peril.
I know it. Have I not been punished for my vanity? If I had not worn my cloth of gold surcoat in battle like a fool, that Burgundian soldier would never have pulled me backwards off my horse, and I should not have been here.
If you are so clever at woman's work, why do you not stay at home and do it?
There are plenty of other women to do it, but there is nobody to do my work.
Come, we are wasting our time on trifles, Joan. I am going to put a most solemn question to you. Take care how you answer, for your life and your salvation are at stake on it. Will you, for all you have said and done, be it good or bad, accept the judgment of God's church on earth? More especially as to the acts and words that are imputed to you in this trial by the promoter here, will you submit your case to the inspired interpretation of the church militants?
I am a faithful child of the church. I will obey the church.
You will.
Provided it does not command anything impossible.
He imputes to the church the error and folly of commanding the impossible.
If you command me to declare that all that I have done and said and all the visions and revelations I have had were not from God, then that is impossible. I will not declare it for anything in the world. What God made me do, I will never go back on. And what he has commanded or shall command, I will not fail to do in spite of any man alive. That is what I mean by impossible. And in case the church should bid me do anything contrary to the command I have from God, I will not consent to it, no matter what it may be.
Consent?
The church
What do you say?
Blasphemy.
My lord,
Incredible.
do you need anything more than this?
Woman, you have said enough to burn 10 heretics. Will you not be warned? Will you not understand?
The church militant tells you that your revelations and visions are sent by the devil to tempt you to your damnation. Will you not believe that the church is wiser than you?
I believe that God is wiser than I, and it is his commandments that I will do. All the things that you call my crimes have come to me by the command of God. I say that I have done them by the order of God. It is impossible for me to say anything else. If any churchman says the contrary, I shall not mind them. I shall mind God alone, whose command I always follow.
Ah, you do not know what you are saying, child. Do you want to kill yourself? Listen, do you not believe that you are subject to the church of God on earth?
Yes, when have I ever denied it?
Good. That means, does it not, that you are subject to our Lord, the Pope, to the cardinals, the archbishops, and the bishops for whom his lordship stands here today?
God must be served first.
Then your voices command you not to submit yourself to the church, militant.
My voices do not tell me to disobey the church, but God must be served first.
And you, not the church, are to be the judge.
What other judgment can I use but my own?
That
Out of your own mouth, you
the sinner.
We have striven for your salvation to the verge of sinning ourselves. We have opened the door to you again and again, and you have shut it in our faces and in the face of God. Dare you pretend, after what you have said, that you are in a state of grace?
If I am not, may God bring me to it. If I am, may God keep me in it.
That is a very good reply, my lord.
Were you in a state of grace when you stole the bishop's horse?
Oh, devil, take the bishop's horse, and you too! We are here to try a case of heresy. And no sooner do we come to the root of the matter than we are thrown back by idiots who understand nothing but horses.
Gentlemen, gentlemen! In clinging to these small issues, you are the maid's best advocates. I am not surprised that his lordship has lost patience with you. What does the promoter say? Does he press these trumpery issues?
I am bound by my office to press everything. But when the woman confesses a heresy that must bring upon her the doom of excommunication, of what consequence is it that she has been guilty also of offenses which expose her to minor penances? I share the impatience of his lordship as to these minor charges. Only with great respect, I must emphasize the gravity of two very horrible and blasphemous crimes which she does not deny. First, she has intercourse with evil spirits and is therefore a sorceress. Second, she wears men's clothes, which is indecent, unnatural, and abominable. And in spite of our most earnest remonstrances and entreaties, she will not change them even to receive the sacrament.
Is the blessed Saint Catherine an evil spirit? Is Saint Margaret? Is Michael the Archangel?
How do you know that the spirit which appears to you is an archangel? Does he not appear to you as a naked man?
Do you think God cannot afford clothes for him?
Well answered, Joan.
It is, in effect, well answered. But no evil spirit would be so simple as to appear to a young girl in a guise that would most scandalize her when he meant her to take her messenger from the on high. Joan, the church instructs you that these apparitions are demons seeking your soul's perdition. Do you accept the instruction of the church?
I accept the messenger of God. How could any faithful believer in the church refuse him?
Wretched woman, again, I ask you, do you know what you are saying?
Wrestle in vain with the devil for her soul, my lord. She will not be saved. Now, as to this matter of the men's dress, for the last time, will you put off that impudent attire and dress as becomes your sex?
I will not.
The sin of disobedience, my lord!
But my voices tell me I must dress as a soldier.
Ha!
Joan, does that not prove to you that the voices are the voices of evil spirits? Can you suggest to us one good reason why an angel of God should give you such shameless advice?
Why, yes! What can be plainer common sense? I was a soldier, living among soldiers. I am a prisoner, guarded by soldiers. If I were to dress as a woman, they would think of me as a woman. And then what would become of me? If I dress as a soldier, they think of me as a soldier, and I can live with them as I do at home with my brothers. That is why St. Catherine tells me I must not dress as a woman until she gives me leave.
When will she give you leave?
when you take me out of the hands of the English soldiers. I have told you that I should be in the hands of the church and not left night and day with 4 soldiers of the Earl of Warwick. Do you want me to live with them in petticoats?
My lord, what she says is, God knows, very wrong and shocking, but there is a grain of worldly sense in it, such as might impose on a simple village maiden.
If we were as simple in the village as you are in your courts and palaces, there would be soon no wheat to make bread for you.
This is the thanks you get for trying to save her, Brother Martin.
Joan, we are all trying to save you. His lordship is trying to save you. The Inquisitor could not be more just to you if you were his own daughter. But you are blinded by a terrible pride and self-sufficiency.
Why do you say that? I have said nothing wrong. I cannot understand.
Blessed Saint Athanasius has laid it down in his creed that those who cannot understand are damned. It is not enough to be simple. It is not enough even to be what simple people call good. The simplicity of a darkened mind is no better than the simplicity of a beast.
There is great wisdom in the simplicity of a beast, let me tell you, and sometimes great foolishness in the wisdom of scholars.
We know that, Joan. We are not so foolish as you think us. Try to resist this temptation to make pert replies to us. Do you see that man who stands behind you?
Your torturer? But the bishop said I was not to be tortured.
You are not to be tortured because you have confessed everything that is necessary to your condemnation. That man is not only the torturer, he is also the executioner. Executioner, let the maid hear your answers to my questions. Are you prepared for the burning of a heretic this day?
Yes, master.
Is the stake ready?
It is in the marketplace. The English have built it too high for me to get near her and make the death easier. It will be a cruel death.
But you are not going to burn me now.
You realize it at last.
There are 800 soldiers waiting to take you to the marketplace the moment the sentence of excommunication has passed the lips of your judges. You're within a few moments short of that doom.
Oh, God!
Do not despair, Joan. The church is merciful. You can save yourself.
Yes, my voice has promised me that I should not be burned. St. Catherine bade me be bold.
Women, woman, are you quite mad? Do you not see that your voices have deceived you?
No, that is impossible.
Impossible? I have led you straight to your excommunication and to the stake which is there waiting for you.
Have they kept a single promise to you since you were taken at Compiègne? The devil has betrayed you. The church holds out its arms to you.
Oh, it is true. It is true. My voices have deceived me. I've been mocked by devils. My faith is broken. I have dared and dared, but only a fool that will walk into a fire. God who gave me common sense cannot will me to do that.
Now God be praised that he has saved you at the 11th hour.
Amen.
What must I do?
Well, you must sign a solemn recantation of your heresy.
Sign? That means to write my name. I cannot write.
You have signed many letters before.
Yes, but someone held my hand and guided the pen. I can make my mark.
My lord, do you mean that you are going to allow this woman to escape us?
Law must take its course, Master DeStogumber, and you know the law.
I know there is no faith in a Frenchman. Oh, I know what my lord the Cardinal of Winchester will say when he hears of this. I know what the Earl of Warwick will do when he learns that you intend to betray him. There are 800 men at the gate who will see that this abominable witch is burnt in spite of your teeth.
What did he say? He accuses us of treachery?
Horrible fellow.
Frenchman. Do you hear that? Horrible fellow.
Mad or drunk. Silence, pray. Gentlemen, pray silence. Master Chaplain, Bethink you a moment of your holy office, of what you are and where you are. I direct you to sit down.
I will not sit down.
Master Inquisitor, this man has called me a traitor to my face before now.
So you are a traitor. You are all traitors. You've been doing nothing but begging this damnable witch on your knees to recant all through this trial.
If you will not sit, you must stand. That is all.
I will not stand.
My lord, here is the form of recantation for the maid to sign.
Read it to her.
Do not trouble. I will sign it.
Woman, you must know what you are putting your hand to. Read it to her, Brother Martin, and let all be silent.
I, Joan, commonly called the maid, a miserable sinner, do confess that I have most grievously sinned in the following articles. I have pretended to have revelations from God and the angels and the blessed saints, and perversely rejected the church's warnings that these were temptations by demons. I have blasphemed abominably by wearing an immodest dress, contrary to the Holy Scripture and the canons of the church. Also, I have clipped my hair in the style of a man, and against all duties which have made my sex specially acceptable in heaven. I have taken up the sword, even to the shedding of human blood, inciting men to slay each other, invoking evil spirits to delude them, and stubbornly and most blasphemously imputing these sins to Almighty God. I confess to the sin of sedition, to the sin of idolatry, to the sin of disobedience, to the sin of pride, and to the sin of heresy. All of which sins I now renounce and abjure and depart from. Humbly thanking you, doctors and masters, who have brought me back to the truth and into the grace of our Lord. And I will never return to my errors, but will remain in communion with our Holy Church, and in obedience to our Holy Father, the Pope of Rome. All this I swear by God Almighty and the Holy Gospels, in witness whereto I sign my name to this recantation.
You understand this, Joan?
It is plain enough, sir.
And is it true?
It may be true. If it were not true, the fire would not be ready for me in the marketplace.
Come, child. Let me guide your hand. Take the pen. Jehane. So, now make your mark by yourself.
There.
Praise be to God. My brothers, the lamb has returned to the flock, and the shepherd rejoices in her more than in 99 just persons.
We declare thee by this act free from the danger of excommunication in which thou stoodest.
I thank you.
But because thou hast sinned most presumptuously against God and the Holy Church, and that thou mayst repent thy errors in solitary contemplation, and be shielded from all temptation to return to them, we, for the good of thy soul, and for a penance that may wipe out thy sins and bring thee finally unspotted to the throne of grace, do condemn thee to eat the bread of sorrow and drink the water of affliction to the end of thy earthly days in perpetual imprisonment.
Perpetual imprisonment? Am I not then to be set free?
Set free? Child, after such wickedness as yours? What are you dreaming of?
Give me that writing. Light your fire. Do you think I dread it as much as the life of a rat in a hole? My voices were right.
Oh, Joan!
Yes.
Joan!
Oh.
They told me you were fools.
Oh.
And that I was not to listen to your fine words nor trust to your charity. You promised me my life, but you lied.
Lied?
You think that life is nothing but being stone dead. It is not the bread and water I fear. I can live on bread. When have I asked for more? It is no hardship to drink water if the water be clean. Bread has no sorrow for me, and water no affliction. But to shut me from the light of the sky and the sight of the fields and flowers to chain my feet so that I can never again ride with the soldiers nor climb the hills, to make me breathe foul, damp darkness and keep me from everything that brings me back to the love of God when your wickedness and foolishness tempt me to hate him. All this is worse than the furnace in the Bible that was heated 7 times. I could do without my war horse. I could drag about in a skirt. I could let the banners and the trumpets and the knights and the soldiers pass me and leave me behind as they leave the other women. If only I could still hear the wind in the trees, the larks in the sunshine, the young lambs crying through the healthy frost, and the blessed, blessed church bells that send my angel voices floating to me on the wind. But without these things, I cannot live. And by your wanting to take them away from me or from any human creature, I know that your counsel is of the devil and that mine is of God.
Blasphemy!
She said blasphemy. She was the devil and has a god monster.
The devil is in our midst. She is a relapsed heretic, obstinate, incorrigible, and altogether unworthy of the mercy we have shown her. I call for her excommunication.
Light your fire, man, to the stake with her.
You wicked girl! If your counsel were of God, would he not deliver you?
His ways are not your ways. He wills that I go through the fire to his bosom. For I am his child, and you are not fit that I should live among you. That is my last word to you.
The soldier sees her.
Not yet. We decree that thou art a relapsed heretic,
Cast out from the unity of the church,
sundered from the body,
infected with the leprosy of heresy.
a member of Satan.
We declare that thou must be excommunicate.
And now do we cast thee out, segregate thee, and abandon thee to the secular power.
Admonishing the same secular power that it moderate its judgment of thee in respect of death and division of the limbs.
And if any true sign of penitence appear in thee, to permit our brother Martin to administer to thee the sacrament of penance.
Into the fire with the witch.
Joan is taken away through the courtyard.
No, this is irregular. The representative of the secular arm should be here to receive her from us.
That man is an incorrigible fool.
Brother Martin, see that everything is done in order.
My place is at her side, my lord. You must exercise your own authority.
These English are impossible. They will thrust us straight into the fire. Look! We must stop that.
Yes, but not too fast, my lord.
But there is not a moment to lose.
We have proceeded in perfect order. If the English choose to put themselves in the wrong, it is not our business to put them in the right. A flaw in the procedure may be useful later on, one never knows. And the sooner it is over, the better for the poor girl.
Well, that is true. But I suppose we must see this dreadful thing through.
One gets used to it. Habit is everything. I am accustomed to the fire. It is soon over. But it is a terrible thing to see a young and innocent creature crushed between these mighty forces, the church and the law.
You call her innocent?
Oh, quite innocent. What does she know of the church and the law? She did not understand a word we were saying. It is the ignorant who suffer. Come, or we shall be late for the end.
I shall not be sorry if we were. I am not so accustomed as you.
I am intruding. I thought it was all over.
Do not go, my lord. It is all over.
The execution is not in our hands, my lord, but it is desirable that we should witness the end. So, by your leave.
There is some doubt whether your people have observed the forms of law, my
I am told that there is some doubt whether your authority runs in this city, my lord. It is not your diocese. However, if you will answer for that, I will swear for the rest.
It is to God that we both must answer. Good morning, my lord.
My lord, good morning. Hello? Some attendants here. Hello there! Hello! Brian, you young blackguard, where are you?
They've all gone. Even that child.
What in the devil's name? What is it, Master John? What is the matter?
My Lord, for Christ's sake, pray for my wretched, guilty soul.
Yes, of course I will. Calmly, gently.
I am not a bad man, my Lord.
No, not at all.
I meant no harm. I didn't know what it would be like.
Oh, you saw it then?
I didn't know what I was doing. I am a hot-headed fool. I am a hot-headed fool, and I shall be damned to all eternity for it.
Nonsense. Very distressing, no doubt, but it was not your doing.
I let them do it. If I had known, I would have torn her from their hands. You don't know. You have seen it. It was so easy to talk when you don't know. Oh, you madden yourself with words. You damn yourself because it feels grand to throw oil in the flaming hell of your own temper. But when it is brought home to you, when you see the thing you've done, when it is blinding your eyes, oh, stifling your nostrils, tearing at your heart, and oh, God, take away this sight from me. Oh, Christ, deliver me from the fire that is consuming me. For she cried to thee in the midst of it. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Oh, she is in thy bosom, and I am in hell forevermore.
Come, man. You must pull yourself together. We shall have the whole town talking of this. If you have not the nerve to see these things, why do you not do as I do and stay away?
She asked for a cross. A soldier gave her 2 sticks tied together. Oh, thank God he was an Englishman. I might have done it, but I did not. I'm a coward, a mad dog, a fool. But he was an Englishman too.
The fool. They will burn him too if the priests get a hold of him.
Oh, some of the people laughed at her. They would have laughed at Christ. But they were French people, my lord, but I know they were French.
Hush! Someone is coming. Control yourself. I am informed that it is all over, Brother Martin.
We do not know, my lord. It may have only just begun.
What does that mean exactly?
I took this cross from the church for her, that she might see it to the last. She had only 2 sticks that she put into her bosom. When the fire crept round us, and she saw that if I held the cross before her, I should be burnt myself, she warned me to get down and save myself. My lord, a girl who could think of another's danger in such a moment was not inspired by the devil. When I had to snatch the cross from her sight, she looked up to heaven. And I do not believe that the heavens were empty. I firmly believe that her Savior appealed to her then in his tenderest glory. She called to him and died. This is not the end for her, but the beginning.
I am afraid it will have a bad effect on the people.
It had, my lord. On some of them, I heard laughter. Forgive me for saying that I hope and believe it was English laughter.
No, it was not. There was only one Englishman there that disgraced his country, and that was the mad dog DeStogumber. Let them torture him. Let them burn him. I will go pray among her ashes. I am no better than a Judas. I will hang myself.
Quick, Brother Martin, follow him. He will do himself some mischief. After him, quick! Well, fellow, who are you?
I am not addressed as fellow, my lord. I am the master executioner of Réon. It is a highly skilled mystery. I have come to tell your lordship that your orders have been obeyed.
I crave your pardon, Master Executioner, and I will see that you lose nothing by having no relics to sell. I have your word, have I, that nothing remains? Not a bone, not a nail, not a hair?
Her heart would not burn, my lord, but everything that was left is at the bottom of the river. You have heard the last of her.
The last of her? I wonder.
Who are you? Where is the gentleman of my bedchamber? What do you want?
I bring you glad tidings of great joy. Rejoice, O king, for the taint is removed from your blood and the stain from your own crown. Justice, long delayed, is at last triumphant.
What are you talking about? Who are you?
I am Brother Martin.
And who, saving your reverence, may Brother Martin be?
I held this cross when the maid perished in the fire. 25 years have passed since then. Nearly 10,000 days. And on every one of those days, I have prayed to God to justify his daughter on earth as she is justified in heaven.
Oh, I remember now. I've heard of you. You have a bee in your bonnet about the maid. Have you been at the inquiry?
I have given my testimony.
Is it over?
It is over.
Satisfactorily?
The ways of God are very strange.
How so?
At the trial, which sent a saint to the stake as a heretic and a sorceress, the truth was told, the law was upheld, mercy was shewn beyond all custom. No wrong was done but the final and dreadful wrong of the lying sentence in a pitiless fire. At this inquiry from which I have just come, there was shameless perjury, courtly corruption, calumny of the dead who did their duty according to their lights, cowardly evasion of the issue, testimony made of idle tales that could not impose on the plowboy. Yet, out of this insult to justice, this defamation of the church, this orgy of lying and foolishness, the truth is set in the noonday sun on the hilltop. The white robe of innocence is cleansed from the smirch of the burning faggots. The holy life is sanctified. The true heart that lived through the flame consecrated. A great lie is silenced forever, and a great wrong is set right before all men.
My friend, provided they can no longer say that I was crowned by a witch and a heretic, I shall not fuss about how the trick has been done. Joan would not have fussed about it if it all came right in the end. She was not of that sort. I knew her. Is her rehabilitation complete? I made it pretty clear that there was to be no nonsense about it.
It is solemnly declared that her judges were full of corruption, cozenage, fraud, and malice. 4 falsehoods.
Never mind the falsehoods. Her judges are dead.
The sentence on her is broken, annulled, annihilated, set aside as non-existent without value or effect.
Good. Nobody can challenge my consecration now, can they?
Not Charlemagne, nor King David himself was more sacredly crowned.
Excellent. Think of what this means to me.
I think of what it means to her.
You cannot. None of us ever knew what anything meant to her. She was not like anybody else. She must take care of herself wherever she is, or I cannot take care of her, and neither can you. Whatever you may think, you are not big enough. But I will tell you this about her. If you could bring her back to life, they would burn her again within 6 months for all their present adoration of her. And you would hold up the cross too, just the same. So let her rest. And let you and I mind our business and not meddle in hers.
God forbid that I have no share in her, nor she in me. Henceforth, my path will not lie through palaces, nor my conversations be with kings.
Much good it may do, you holy man. That was a funny. How did he get in? Where are my people? Hello? Someone come and shut the windows. Everything is being blown all over the place. Who is there? Who is that? Help! Murder!
Easy, Charlie, easy. What are you making all that noise for? No one can hear thee. Thou art asleep.
Joan? Are you a ghost, Joan?
Hardly even that, lad. Can a poor burnt-up lass have a ghost? I'm but a dream that thou art dreaming. Thou look'st older, lad.
I am older. Am I really asleep?
Fallen asleep over thy silly book.
It's funny.
Not so funny as that I am dead, is it?
Are you really dead?
As dead as anybody ever is, laddie. I am out of the body.
Just fancy. Did it hurt much?
Did what hurt much?
Being burnt.
Oh, that. I cannot remember very well. I think it did at first, but then it all got mixed up, and I was not in my right mind until I was free of the body. But do not thou go handling fire and thinking it will not hurt thee. How has it been ever since?
Oh, not so bad. Do you know, I actually led my army out and win battles? Down into the moat, up to my waist in mud and blood. Up the ladders with the stones and hot pitch raining down. Just like you.
Oh, did I make thee a man after all, Charlie?
I am Charles the Victorious now. I had to be brave because you were. Agnes put a little pluck into me too.
Ooh, Agnes. Who was Agnes?
Agnes Sorrel, a woman I fell in love with. I dream of her often. I have never dreamed of you before.
She dead like me?
Yes, but she was not like you. She was very beautiful.
I was no beauty. I was always a rough one, a regular soldier. I might almost as well have been a man. Pity I wasn't. I should not have bothered you all so much then. But my head was in the skies, and the glory of God was upon me. And man or woman, I should have bothered you as long as your noses were in the mud. Now, tell me what has happened since you wise men knew no better than to make a heap of cinders of me.
Your mother and brothers have sued the courts to have your case tried over again. And the courts have declared that your judges were full of corruption and fraud and malice.
Well, not they. They were as honest a lot of poor fools as ever burned their betters.
The sentence on you is broken, annihilated, annulled, null, non-existent, without value or effect.
I was burned all the same. Can they unburn me?
They could. They would think twice before they did it. But they have decreed that a beautiful cross be placed where the stake stood for your perpetual memory and for your salvation.
It is the memory and the salvation that sanctify the cross, not the cross that sanctifies the memory and the salvation. I shall outlast that cross. I shall be remembered when men will have forgotten where Joan stood.
There you go with your self-conceit, the same as ever. I think you might say a word of thanks to me for having had justice done at last.
Liar!
Thank you.
Why, if it isn't Peter Cauchon. How are you, Peter? What luck have you had since you burned me?
None. I arrange the justice of man. It is not the justice of God.
Still dreaming of justice, Peter? See what justice came to with me. But what has happened to thee? Art dead or alive?
Dead, dishonored. They pursued me beyond the grave. They excommunicated my dead body. They dug it up and flung it into the common sewer.
Your dead body did not feel the spade and the sewer as my live body felt the fire.
But this thing that they have done against me hurts justice, destroys faith, saps the foundation of the church. The solid earth sways like the treacherous seas beneath the feet of men and spirits alike when the innocent are slain in the name of law, and their wrongs are undone by slandering the pure of heart.
Well, well, Peter, I hope men will be the better for remembering me, and they would not remember me so well if you had not burned me.
They will be the worse for remembering me. They will see in me the evil triumphing over the good, falsehood over truth, cruelty over mercy, hell over heaven. Their courage will rise as they think of you, only to faint as they think of me. Yet God is my witness. I was just. I was merciful. I was faithful to my life. I could do no other than I did.
Yes. It is always you good men that do the big mischiefs. Look at me. I'm not Charles the Good, nor Charles the Wise, nor Charles the Bold. Joan's worshippers may even call me Charles the Coward, because I did not pull her out of the fire. But I have done less harm than any of you. You people with your heads in the sky spend all your time trying to turn the world upside down. But I take the world as it is and say that top side up is right side up. And I keep my nose pretty close to the ground. And I ask you, what king of France has done better or been a better fellow in this little way?
Art really king of France, Charlie? Be the English gone?
I've kept my word. The English are gone.
Praise be God! Now is fair France a province in heaven. Tell me all about the fighting, Jack. Was it thou that led them? Wert thou God's captain to thy death?
I am not dead.
Oh.
My body is very comfortably asleep in my bed in Chateaudun, but my spirit is called here by yours.
And you fought them my way, Jack, eh? Not the old way, chaffering for ransoms, but the maid's way, staking life against death, with heart high and humble and void of malice, and nothing counting under God but France, free and French. Was it my way, Jack?
Faith, it was any way that would win. But the way that won was always your way. I give you best, lassie. I wrote a fine letter to set you right at the new trial. Perhaps I should never have let the priest burn you, but I was busy fighting. And it was the church's business, not mine. There was no use in both of us being burned, was there?
Aye, put the blame on the priests. But I, who am beyond praise and blame, tell you that the world is saved neither by its priests nor its soldiers, but by God and his saints. The church militants sent this woman to the fire, but even as she burned, the flames whitened into the radiance of the church triumphant.
Rum-tum, trumpely-dun, bacon fat and rumply-dun, old Saint Mumply-dum, pull his tail and sumply-dum, oh my Maria.
What villainous troubadour taught you that doggerel?
No troubadour. We made it up ourselves as we marched. We were not gentle folks and troubadours. Music straight out of the heart of the people, as you might say. Rum-tum, trumply-dum, bacon fat and rumply-dum, old Saint Mumply-dum, pull his tail and stumply-dum. That don't mean anything, you know, but it keeps you marching. Your servant, ladies and gentlemen. Who asked for a saint?
Be you a saint?
Yes, lady. Straight from hell.
A saint, and from hell.
Yes, noble captain. I have a day off. Every year, you know. That's my allowance for my one good action.
In all the years of your life, you only did one good action?
I never thought about it. It came natural-like, but they scored it up for me.
What was it?
Why, the silliest thing you ever heard of.
He tied 2 sticks together and gave them to a poor lass that was going to be burned.
Right. Who told you that?
Never mind. Would you know her if you saw her again?
No. Not I. There are so many girls, and they all expect you to remember them as if there was only one in the world. This one must have been a prime sort, for I have a day off every year for her. And so, until 12 o'clock punctually, I am a saint at your service, noble lords and lovely ladies.
And after 12?
After 12, back to the only place fit for the likes of me.
Back there? You that gave the lass the cross?
Well, she asked for it, and they were going to burn her. She had as good a right to a cross as they had, and they had dozens of them. It was her funeral, not theirs. Where was the harm in it?
Man, I am not reproaching you, but I cannot bear to think of you in torment.
No great torment, lady. You see, I was used to worse.
What? Worse than hell?
15 years of service in the French wars. Hell was a treat after that. Sits me somehow. The day off was dull at first, like a wet Sunday. I don't mind it so much now. They tell me I can have as many as I like as soon as I want them.
What was hell like?
You won't find it so bad, sir. Jolly. Like as if you were always drunk without the trouble and expense of drinking. Tip-top company, too. Emperors and popes and kings and all sorts. They chip me about giving that young lady, that young Judy, the cross, but I don't care. I stand up to them proper and tell them that if she hadn't a better right to it than they, she'd be where they are. That dumbfounds them. That does. All they can do is gnash their teeth hell fashion, and I just laugh and go off singing the old chanty. Rum-tum-trumpally. Hello, who's that knocking at the door?
Come in!
Excuse me, gentle lords and ladies, do not let me disturb you. Only a poor English rector, formerly chaplain to the cardinal, to my Lord Winchester, John DeStogumber, at your service. Did you say anything? I am a little deaf, unfortunately. I also a little, well, not always in my right mind. Perhaps, but still, it is a small village with a few simple people. I suffice. I suffice. Oh, they love me there, and I am able to do a little good. I am well connected, you see, and they indulge me.
Poor old John. What brought thee to this state?
I tell my folks they must be very careful. I say to them, if you only saw what you think about, you would think quite differently about it. It would give you a great shock. Oh, a great shock. And they all say, yes, parson, we all know you are a kind man and would not harm a fly. That is a great comfort to me, for I am not cruel by nature, you know.
Who said you were?
Well, you see, I did a very cruel thing once. because I did not know what cruelty was like. I had not seen it. You know, that is the great thing. You must see it, and then you are redeemed and saved.
Were not the sufferings of our Lord Christ enough for you?
No, oh no, not at all. I had seen them in pictures and read them in books and been greatly moved by them, as I thought. But it was no use. It was not our Lord that redeemed me, but a young woman whom I saw actually burned to death. Oh, it was dreadful, oh, most dreadful. But it saved me. I've been a different man ever since, though a little astray in my wits sometimes.
Must then a Christ perish in torment in every age to save those that have no imagination?
Well, if I saved all those he would have been cruel to if he had not been cruel to me, I was not burned for nothing, was I?
Oh, no, it was not you. My sight is bad. I cannot distinguish your features, but you are not she. Oh, no, she was burned to a cinder. Dead and gone. Dead and gone.
She is more alive than you, old man. Her heart would not burn. It would not drown. I was master of my craft, better than the master of Paris, better than the master of Toulouse. But I could not kill the maid. She is up and alive everywhere.
Madam, my congratulations on your rehabilitation. I feel that I owe you an apology.
Oh, please don't mention it.
The burning was purely political. There was no personal feeling against you, I assure you.
I bear no malice, my lord.
Just so. Very kind of you to meet me in that way. A touch of true breeding. But I must insist on apologizing very amply. The truth is, these political necessities sometimes turn out to be political mistakes. And this one was a veritable howler. For your spirit conquered us, madam, in spite of our faggots. History will remember me for your sake, though the incidents of the connection were perhaps a little unfortunate.
Aye, perhaps just a little. You funny man.
Still, when they make you a saint, you will owe your halo to me, just as this lucky monarch owes his crown to you.
I shall owe nothing to any man. I owe everything to the Spirit of God that was within me. But fancy me a saint. What would St. Catherine and St. Margaret say if the farm girl was cocked up beside them?
A clerical-looking gentleman in a black frock coat and trousers and tall hat, in the fashion of the year 1920, suddenly appears before them in the corner of their right.
Why all this mirth, gentlemen?
I congratulate you on having invented a most extraordinary comic dress.
I do not understand. You all are in fancy dress. I'm properly dressed.
All dress is fancy dress, is it not? Except our natural skins.
Well, pardon me, but I am here on serious business and cannot engage in frivolous discussions. I am sent to announce to you that Joan of Arc, formerly known as the Maid, having been the subject of an inquiry instituted by the Bishop of Orleans.
Ah, they remember me still in Orleans.
By the Bishop of Orleans into the claim of Saint Joan of Arc to be canonized as a saint.
But I never made any such claim.
The church has examined the claim exhaustively in the usual course, and having admitted the said Joan successfully to the ranks of venerable and blessed,
Me, venerable,
has finally declared her to have been endowed with heroic virtues, and favored with private revelations, and calls the said venerable and blessed Joan to the communion of the Church triumphant as Saint Joan.
Saint Joan.
Yes. On the 30th day of May, being the anniversary of the death of the said most blessed daughter of God, there shall in every Catholic church to the end of time be celebrated a special office in the commemoration of her, and it shall be lawful to dedicate a special chapel to her and to place her image on its altar in every such church, and it shall be lawful and laudable for the faithful to kneel and address their prayers through her to the mercy seat.
Oh no, it is for the saint to kneel.
In Basilica Vaticanica on the 16th day of May, 1920.
Half an hour to burn you, dear saint, and 4 centuries to find out the truth about you.
Sir, I was the chaplain to the Cardinal of Winchester once. They would always call him the Cardinal of England. It would be a great comfort to me and to my master to see a fair statue to the maid in Winchester Cathedral. Would they put one there, you think?
Well, as the building is temporarily in the hands of the Anglican heresy, I cannot answer for that.
Oh, look, that is Winchester.
That meant to be me? I was stiffer on my feet.
I have been requested by the temporal authorities of France to mention that the multiplication of public statues to the maid threatens to become an obstruction to traffic. I do as a matter of courtesy to the said authorities, but must point out on behalf of the church that the maid's horse is no greater obstruction to traffic than any other horse.
Oh, I'm not glad they've not forgotten my horse. Is that funny little thing me too?
That is, well, cathedral where you had me crowned. It must be you.
Who has broken my sword? My sword was never broken. It is the sword of France.
Never mind, swords can be mended. Your soul is unbroken, and you are the soul of France.
My sword shall conquer yet. The sword that never struck a blow. Though men destroyed my body, yet in my soul I have seen God.
Girls from the field praise thee, for thou hast raised their eyes, and they see that there is nothing between them and heaven.
The dying soldiers praise thee, because thou art a shield of glory between them and the judgment.
The princes of the church praise thee, because thou hast redeemed the faith of their worldliness that have dragged through the mire.
Try that again. The cunning counselors praise thee, because thou hast cut the knots in which they have tied their own souls.
Foolish old men on their deathbeds praise thee, because their sins against thee are turned into blessings.
The judges in the blindness and bondage of the law praise thee, because thou hast vindicated the vision and the freedom of the living soul.
The wicked out of hell praise thee, because thou hast shown them that the fire that is not quenched is a holy fire.
Tormentors and executioners praise thee, because thou hast shown that their hands are guiltless of the death of the soul.
The unpretending praise thee, because thou hast taken upon thyself the heroic burdens that are too heavy for them.
Woe unto me when all men praise me. I bid you remember that I am a saint, and that saints can work miracles. And now tell me, shall I rise from the dead and come back to you, a living woman? What? Must I burn again? Are none of you ready to receive me?
The heretic is always better dead, and mortal eyes cannot distinguish the saint from the heretic. Spare them.
Forgive us, Joan. We are not yet good enough for you. I shall go back to my bed.
We sincerely regret our little mistake, but political necessaries, though occasionally erroneous, are still imperative. So, if you will be good enough to excuse me.
Your return would not make me the man you once thought me. The utmost I can say that though I dare not bless you, I hope that I may one day enter into your blessedness. Meanwhile, however, I go.
I, who am of the dead, testified that day that you were innocent, but I do not see how the Inquisition could possibly be dispensed with under present circumstances. Therefore.
Oh, do not come back. You must not come back. I must die in peace. Give us peace in our time, O Lord.
The possibility of your resurrection was not contemplated in the recent proceedings for your canonization. I must return to Rome for fresh instructions.
As a master of my profession, I have to consider its interest, and after all, my duty is to my wife and children. I must have time to think this over.
Poor old Joan. They have all run away from you except this black guard who has to go back to hell at 12 o'clock. And what can I do but follow Jack Dunois' example and go back to bed too?
Good night, Charlie.
Good night.
And you, my one faithful, what comfort have you for Saint Joan?
Well, what do they all amount to? These kings and captains and bishops and lawyers and such like. They just leave you in the ditch to bleed to death. And the next thing is, you meet them down there for all the airs they give themselves. What I say is, you have as good a right to your notions as they have to theirs, and perhaps better. You see, it's like this. Excuse me, pressing appointment.
Oh God, that made this beautiful earth, when will it be ready to receive thy saints? How long, O Lord? How long?